As we saw in the beginning of the last video, time travel stories have become incredibly common. So common, in fact, that an entire set of tropes has been built around these kinds of stories. Time loops, alternate histories, and of course, let's not forget the tried and true trope of killing Hitler. Hell, even Doctor Who did that one, and that was only after it had clearly started to run out of ideas. From this sea of ideas, there have emerged three sorts of broad categories of time travel. Stories in which the timeline can easily be changed, stories in which the timeline can't easily be changed, and stories where everything was how it has been all along, time travel included. Doctor Who is, of course, the primary example of the former. In fact, lots of rules have had to be put in place by the in-universe characters to prevent them from thoroughly fucking up the timeline, which has been repeatedly accomplished anyway. Of the latter, the most widely known work is probably Harry Potter, for better or worse, but an example I'd like to highlight today is the story All You Zombies by Robert A. Heinlein. In this story, it is slowly revealed through a series of complicated travels through time that every single character we have met over the course of the story is the exact same person. They are both their own mother and father and our narrator, and it's a story that has never left my head and makes it ache every time I think back to it. Highly recommended reading. And that, of course, brings us back to Steins Gate. It counts itself as one of those stories where it is very difficult to change the timeline. You may be thinking to yourself, but we've just spent the last video changing the timeline repeatedly. Hedgehog, are you high? And the answer is probably yes, but I'm not wrong. Okabe and friends have been changing the timeline repeatedly, but as you're soon to see, they haven't really been changing the timeline at all. How's that as a hook for you? Bet you can't click off now and you're just gonna have to give me all your watch time. My name is Hedgehog, welcome back to this nonsense, and this is Steins Gate. Ladies, gentlemen, and germs, welcome back to whatever the hell this is, a Hedgehog analysis video that actually has some analysis that's not hidden in the recaps where only English majors can find it. It's more likely than you think. Today we're getting into the second half of Steins Gate, where it all unfortunately starts to fall apart a little bit for me. Not entirely, mind you, there's still some good stuff in here, although most of the good stuff they cut out of the anime entirely. That's right, the anime is not a perfect one-to-one adaptation of the visual novel, so even for all y'all anime watchers who think you know the story backwards and forwards, you don't. And I'm oh so excited to show you. Before that though, you know what time it is? Shilling time! As always, if you like what I do a heck of a lot more. I have a second channel where I live stream, upload dumb shit that won't do very well in the algorithm, and write original stories. If you like the sort of thing I cover on this channel, you'll really like my stories a lot. They are on that channel in the Hedgehog Storytime playlist, and also on my website, to which there are links to both in the description below. You can also join my Patreon if you want occasional live streams, occasional visual novel write-ups, and other random ass things. Want me to know your thoughts about the things I'm covering in a much more direct way than the comment section? Want to get slowly indoctrinated into reading the aforementioned stories by a rabid horde of ghouls that are constantly drooling for more? Want to see Noah get sprayed in the face by the metaphorical spray bottle? Mayhaps join the Discord server. We don't bite much. That's also a great place to meet and talk to some of the voice actors, editors, and composers of this video, without which there would be no video, because if you think I could properly give a voice to the absolute Chad that is 4 degrees Celsius, well, even I don't think I'm that talented. And so there are over a dozen lovely people who have helped me out with this video. Please go check out all of their links and be sure to let them know in the comments how lovely a job they did, because I'm their mom and I don't count. Okay. Finally done, so without further ado, I'd say it's time to hop in our little time machine and travel back to 2010, where something absolutely nuts just went down that y'all have been waiting several months by now to see resolved. Let's do it.
No matter how many times I call her name, Mayuri doesn't answer.
A much younger Mayuri stands in front of a grave, the grave of her grandmother, with whom she was very close. Okabe explains that in the months since her death, Mayuri has spent nearly all her time standing here, holding her grandmother's old pocket watch, and doesn't talk to anyone.
Whenever I saw her standing there, staring at the sky, I felt unease grip at my heart. Her gaze was so earnest, her intentions so pure, that I feared some power might grant her wish and carry her off to heaven to join her beloved grandmother.
To make sure this doesn't happen, Okabe follows her to the grave every day and calls her name. One day it rains, with tendrils of light creeping in between the clouds. Mayuri stretches her hand up towards the sky and lifts herself onto her toes. Okabe is so afraid that she might simply float away that he grabs her.
I won't let you go. I won't let anyone take you away. You're my hostage now. My guinea pig.
In order to cover his own embarrassment, Okabe imitates a villain on a TV show that he admires.
There's no escaping me!
For some reason, this is the scene that Okabe remembers as his memories travel back through time. He experiences a terrible amount of pain, claiming his brain hurts before fully coming back to himself.
Something's off. It's like my body and my mind aren't totally in sync with each other. Almost as if this isn't really my body.
But the feeling quickly fades. Okabe, are you listening? What was all that screaming for? Are you sick? He brushes her off, and they prepare to go shopping. Shopping for what? The party tonight, of course. And that's when it all comes back to him. The fact that the party tonight will lead directly to Mayuri's death. He suddenly panics, grabbing Kurisu and asking her what day and time it is. She and Daru are obviously very confused. It's apparently a few hours before the party.
I remember the smell of the blood, the sound of the gunshot, the weight of the headgear on my head, Kurisu screaming, Suzuha fighting to defend us. I remember it all vividly.
Finally, he asks them where Mayuri is. Apparently, she went to Luka's place. Okabe flounders with himself, wondering if it's possible that it was all just a dream, and he convinces himself that it must be. After all, something crazy like that would never really happen, right?
Totoro! I'm back!
I mean, look, Mayuri's fine. They're going to have a party, and it's all going to be fine. Ferris and Luka couldn't make it, but Suzuha and the usual crew are here, so it's a good time. Mayuri might even possibly have convinced Kurisu to cosplay.
Maybe you shouldn't bother.
Hold on. Hasn't this happened before? Haven't we seen all of this before? I've been meaning to ask, did I do something to you?
Not to me, but I know your true nature.
Wow, you can see into my heart? That's groundbreaking technology. I'd love to hear how it works.
Okarin, stop them from fighting!
But this time, Okabe is frozen. He doesn't do anything. Mayuri breaks up the fight, and peace returns to the lab. Mayuri sits next to Okabe on the couch. She mentions that with all the lab mems, it might behoove them to get a bigger space, or more chairs at least, but with all the money from their invention, that won't be an issue anymore.
Stop it. Why are you saying the same things as in that terrible dream? It was a dream. It has to have been a dream.
And then the TV switches to an urgent news bulletin. Apparently there's been a bomb threat that suspended a bunch of train lines, all of which pass through Akiba.
It's the same. Every last thing. The same.
Suzuha asks them if the time leap machine is done, and then leaves. Okabe is panicking, desperately trying to deny that anything is about to happen. Mayuri grips his hand. And the SERN operatives burst through the door. Moeka once again threatens them all at gunpoint.
You can't refuse. You have nowhere to run. We have men stationed throughout Akihabara. The three of you come with us.
Why just the three of us?
Shiina Mayuri is not needed.
And once again, Moeka shoots Mayuri. Her body falls. Okabe catches her in his arms. And then she dies.
She's dead. Mayuri's dead. Again. Her blood stains my hands.
Once again, Suzuha breaks in and takes down the attackers. Okabe and Kurisu run into the back room, start up the time leap machine.
Slowly, the shattered pieces of the world reform. I am Okabe Rintaro. I'm in the lab development room, standing in front of the time leap machine with my phone to my ear.
He stumbles out of the back room, tells Kurisu she's a genius, and pulls out his phone.
Mayuse here, but I can't answer the phone right now. Please leave your message after the beep.
Okabe only has 3 hours before Moeka kills Mayuri. He clears Daru and Kurisu out of the lab and runs out onto the street to find her. His first destination is the Yanabayashi shrine, where Mayuri apparently should be around this time. But he doesn't run into her.
Ah, Okabe-san. What's wrong?
Mayuri. Where's Mayuri?
Mayuri-chan already left.
It seems like she should be heading back to the lab. Maybe they just missed each other. So Okabe runs back that way, only to find Daru alone ordering pizza. Okabe realizes that they don't hang out much outside of the lab, so he has no idea where she might actually be. Daru remembers that her phone was low on battery, so that explains why she hasn't gotten his call. Just then, Okabe realizes something.
Daru? Why are you still here? I thought I told you to leave!
I'm not leaving without a good reason.
They're going to kill Mayuri.
He tells Daru the whole story, and that promptly gets him to fuck off. Now all Okabe can do is wait for Mayuri to get back. He sits on the bench outside, just in time for Suzuha and Tennouji to emerge from the CRT store.
What are you doing here, Okabe Rintaro?
That's right, he's forgotten all about Suzuha's weird behavior. I mean, I'm sure we have all probably figured it out by now, but Okabe is a little slow. Suzuha asks about the party, and he spends 2 minutes inadvertently shitting on her before just saying that the damn thing is cancelled. As for why, he claims he got into a fight with Mayuri.
Oh, is there gonna be blood? I mean, look over there.
And right on cue, here comes Mayuri. Okabe ignores Suzuha's confusion when she seems happy to see him and grabs Mayuri's hand, telling her to run. She is also confused, but does so without complaint.
Hey, where are we going?
First, we'll head for Tsukuba or Yokohama.
Shouldn't we rest a bit?
No stopping until we're on the train.
The only problem is that when they get there, the station is packed. Okabe was a dumbass and forgot that SERN shut down the train lines. He tries to turn around to leave, but is approached by a man he's never met before. And then there are more. They surround the two, and one of them tries to grab Okabe. He tries to struggle, but a gun is held to his back. Just when it looks like all hope is lost, a commotion occurs within the crowd surrounding the station, and Okabe uses his chance to break free. He decides their best hope is the subway. If they can make it out of the blockade, then they can catch a train out of Tokyo. But they are hounded the whole way by SERN agents. Finally, they're cornered.
You have nowhere to run. We have men stationed throughout Akihabara.
He tries anyway, but is suddenly hit by a goddamn car. He survives the impact. Mayuri does not.
I've secured Okabe Rintaro. Contact the police. Shiina Mayuri is dead.
Why? Why did you kill her?
He runs at her, and Moeka goes down hard. He uses the confusion to escape and makes it back to the lab, conveniently unhounded. Once again, he time leaps. This time he finds Mayuri before she left Luka's. She's complaining about Luka not wanting to cosplay, but Okabe grabs her hand and they run straight to the subway. Okay, well, they have to make a few additional turns to get to one that hasn't been shut down and avoid SERN agents, but they get there.
Okarin? Mayushi has a lot of questions, but she'll wait for now. But once it's over, I want you to tell me everything, okay?
God, isn't she such a goddamn angel? Normally, I hate characters of this archetype. They usually come off as kind of shallow, but Mayuri is above that. It's something ephemeral, but Hayashi really does a great job in making you care for her just as much as Okabe does. Anyway, while they wait for the train, Okabe questions her about her whereabouts this afternoon in case this time around doesn't work out, but it doesn't take long for that train to start pulling into the station. Mayuri and Okabe stand behind the white line, but just as she's about to say something to him, Mayuri is suddenly gone.
There she is, leaning out over the tracks. She's off balance, as if she stumbled, or someone pushed her. She seems to hang there for a moment, and then the train comes screaming into the station.
Right where Mayuri was just standing a second ago is a very familiar young girl. Nae, Tennouji's daughter, looks horrified. Or should I say horrifying, whichever you prefer.
I saw Miss Mayuri. I wanted to surprise her. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't.
Okabe wonders if Nai was also working for SERN, but quickly writes this off. She always jumps on Mayuri as a greeting. That is inevitably what happened. But why just then?
I sense malice. Whose malice? It's like fate is playing a cruel joke on us.
This time they take a taxi, but they get stuck in a suspicious amount of traffic. Looks like there's a blockade up ahead, and we sure as hell know just who it is that set that up. A man enters through the door next to Mayuri and stabs her in the chest.
Why? Why can't I save her? Why won't you let me save her? Who decided that Mayuri must die? Moeka? SERN? Or does the world itself wish for Mayuri's death?
One more time, and one more after that, and after that. Half the time Mayuri isn't even killed by SERN. Okabe can't deny it any longer.
The world itself is killing Mayuri.
This time he takes another tact. Instead of protecting Mayuri, he contacts Moeka and tells her to meet him on the roof of Radicon. He hides in the shadows and puts one of the future gadgets, the bit particle gun, against her back. She buys the bluff and hands him her gun. Now he's actually holding her at gunpoint. He tells her he knows she's working for SERN and that he's traveled through time to stop her. He demands to know who she and all her lackeys are.
The Rounders are an organization separate from SERN. Covert operations. We don't exist. Our mission is to find and acquire IBN 5100s.
She doesn't know much more, though she is able to tell him that they attacked because of what the Future Gadget Lab knows, the fact that they have a working time machine, and specifically the fact that they were planning to go public with it. So why kill Mayuri?
Okabe, Makise, Hashida, you made the time machine. She is expendable.
Have you done this before? How many lives have you ruined for SERN's research?
I do as I'm told. I live for SERN. I live for FB. I'll do anything if FB tells me to.
He screams at her to have FB cancel the attack, but she can't do that. Before he has a chance to question her further, more Rounders reveal themselves. Okabe is captured, escapes again, Mayuri dies again, and once more, he time leaps. This time, Okabe tries to break the time leap machine.
If only we had never built the phone wave. If only we had never sent those D-mails. Perhaps the future might be different, instead of the nightmare it promises now. Would anything change if I broke it? Just smashed it to pieces right here?
Okabe, what are you doing? Are you trying to destroy the machine? She asks him what's wrong, but he flees from the lab. A few minutes later, he finds himself on the pedestrian overpass by the UPX building. Hey, you. The Dokuun sitting on the ground.
Hey, Christina.
Come on. If you have time to sit around like a Dokuun, then you can help me with the shopping. She asks him if he's coming, but he just sighs.
Kurisu.
That's the first time you've said my name properly.
Help me.
She knows he used the time leap machine, and so he tells her everything. She warns him that prolonged use of the machine can have disastrous effects, but he still wants to persist in saving Mayuri. I'll help. Anyway, I'm not doing this for you, okay? I'm doing it for Mayuri. Unfortunately, they don't have much time to do anything at this point, so Kurisu suggests he go back further than he has been and explain the situation to her again. But what if she doesn't believe him? So Kurisu gives him a password to say to her, something that only she knows. What I want most right now is my own fork.
What?
It doesn't mean anything, okay? I already have my own spoon. Wait, that doesn't matter. Be careful. And remember, I'm always on your side. Once again, Okabe finds himself back in the lab. It is now 1:45, and Kurisu is still working on the time leap machine. Mayuri is still working on her costume. Okabe waits, and they both finish at the same time.
We're not experimenting.
I just finished and you're already shutting it down? What do you think I worked so hard for? Okabe explains that there's still a lot of fundamental problems with actually using it and ushers everyone out of the lab, asking Kurisu to stay behind. He asks if she's upset. Obviously the answer is yes.
I came from 5 hours in the future.
Is that supposed to be funny?
Don't glare like that. This isn't right. You're supposed to believe me.
Okabe panics, and Kurisu is getting increasingly pissed at his shenanigans until he uses the passphrase and she realizes that he's telling the truth. So he once again explains the situation, and they come to the conclusion that due to Mayuri's death being paradox-proof, using the time leap machine will never be able to change her fate. Okabe starts to panic, and Kurisu tries to get him to calm down.
How can I calm down? Do you know how many times I've seen Mayuri die? Covered in blood, gasping for breath, the light fading from her eyes. Again and again and again. All I could do was watch.
Getting emotional won't solve anything.
You're only calm because you weren't there.
True. I don't know what happens 5 hours from now. To be honest, it doesn't feel real at all. But it's not like I don't believe you. You have to stay strong, Okabe. So they take a step back and start puzzling out a solution. Since Moeka doesn't kill her in every timeline, clearly the root of the problem is something more fundamental. So if they can figure out what that is, they can save her. One small catch. The time leap machine apparently has a range limit of 48 hours. Of course, you can just repeatedly use it, making the range essentially infinite, but in order to use it, the machine actually has to exist, meaning they have a hard limit of traveling back to the 11th of August. Just as they're puzzling this out, they hear a loud sound. Outside the window, Suzuha has just dropped her bike. Her eyes meet Okabe's, and as soon as they do, she takes off on the bicycle. Something weird is definitely going on here. He chases after her and tracks her back to the area he lost her last time. She's going to disappear again. But just as he thinks all hope is lost, he sees some pedestrians looking up at the satellite implanted in the side of Radicon. The lights are blinking. Okabe sneaks into the building, passing Suzuha's bike. She's definitely here. He rushes to the top floor, and there, inside the satellite, or should I say, time machine, someone is moving. Okabe rushes in, only to find he's too late, as Suzuha is about to push a big button on the machine. But something happens. It shocks her.
It's not working.
This is a time machine, isn't it? Are you a time traveler?
I'm John Titor.
Wow, who would have ever guessed that? No way. I'm shocked, absolutely appalled. Okay, I'll shut up now. Okabe is surprised and questions her. Apparently, when she overheard them talking, she thought that since SERN had already put their plans into motion, that she had been neglecting her mission and tried to leave to correct that. But for some reason, her time machine is now broken.
I'll tell you everything. I think you need to know. You and Makise Kurisu.
They make it back to the lab, and Mayuri and Daro are back. They went shopping, thinking to hold the party anyway, but Okabe tells them no.
Come on, Ocarine! That's no fun!
It's not about fun. Suzuha, Christina, and I have important matters to discuss. That's why I asked you to leave for the day.
Mayuri wants to stay. She sees how sad Suzuha looks, and Suzuha says she wants them to know who she is too. She explains again how she's from the future, but some people aren't quite as quick as Okabe and Kurisu.
Dystopia?
A society where every activity is controlled by the government. In a dystopia, you're not allowed to eat bananas unless today is banana eating day.
That's terrible! Mayushi loves bananas!
Of course, Suzuha has come to this time to change the future. However, Kurisu still thinks it's a ridiculous assertion that SERN could be behind it. She comes forth as, Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha, the poster who always bullied Titorton! Unbelievable, I would have never guessed.
SERN is still a research institution in 2036. The world is actually ruled by CERN's secret backers, the Committee of 300. When CERN successfully completed their time machine, they became the sole entity with power over the fourth dimension, time. In just 2 years, they remade the world to serve their purpose. That brings us to you, Makise Kurisu. In 2036, you're apotheosized as the mother of the time machine.
Which explains why she hates Kurisu so much. Unfortunately, Okabe is not as fondly regarded. In fact, he's known as a pretty infamous terrorist, which honestly he'd probably prefer. Also, Kurisu is dead, most likely erased by SERN when she tried to rebel. Suzuha realizes her vendetta was probably misguided, as it seems that Kurisu was forced to build the time machine against her will, most likely enforced by the Rounders. Kurisu then asks if the many worlds interpretation is actually correct like John Titor claimed, and Suzuha explains that she kind of lied as a way to camouflage herself. As she told Okabe over mail, the true model is the attractor field model. Suzuha illustrates with some yarn from Mayuri's sewing kit.
The world is made up of world lines and attractor fields. Countless possible world lines exist in quantum superposition, branching out to infinities of possible world lines. From a distance, it looks like a single string, but when you look closer, the string is actually made up of individual threads woven together. At the end, those threads converge on a single point. The paths are different, but the destination is the same.
So each of these world lines will hit a point of convergence where they will all end up exactly the same, even if there were a lot of minor changes to get there. This bundle is called an attractor field. However, there are also many different attractor fields.
In each attractor field, the world lines converge on a different result. They don't interfere with each other. Each attractor field is independent of the others.
Of course, someday in the distant future they will all converge again, but that is not important at this moment.
But then, isn't it impossible to change the future? It always converges in the end, right? No matter what you do, the result is always the same.
Normally, he would be correct. The only way to jump between attractor fields is to do so at the point of divergence, which for our purposes here in the Alpha World Line, as we'll be calling it from here on out, is right now. We can potentially make it to the Beta World Line where the CERN dystopia doesn't happen, but it's going to be hard. Also, for the record, other recent years of major divergences were in 2000 because of the Y2K problem, and 1991, the year the Soviet Union collapsed, and now 2010, the year of the first ever time machine. Their only hope is the fact that Okabe has the power to perceive the difference in the world lines, reading Steiner. But Kurisu still has some questions about Suzuha. How does she know so much about 2010 if she wasn't born until 2017?
It was written in Dad's will. My dad was one of the founding members of the Resistance. He hid from CERN and researched time travel on his own. He wanted to change the future. But CERN killed him. That's why I'm here, to fulfill his dream.
So this is why Mayuri keeps dying. On the Alpha World Line, Mayuri is doomed to death. If he can get back to the Beta World Line, then he can save Mayuri. Our task is set. So how do we get back to it? Suzuha's father believed it was that very first message that Okabe sent all the way back at the beginning of the story. CERN found it and kept it in a database, and that's why they keep coming after them. The mail is proof that Okabe messed with the timeline. One problem. The only way they can get into that database and delete the mail is with an IBN 5100, which, due to shenanigans, Okabe obviously still doesn't have. Suzuha's true mission is to go back to 1975 and acquire one for Okabe to use. But see, the thing about that is that Suzuha's time machine is broken, remember? It probably broke during the rainstorm a few days ago, which is too far back for Okabe to time leap. And right now, they only have 2 hours before Mayuri dies. Okabe sends Mayuri and Daru off to get some food so they can eat while they come up with a plan. He then explains to Suzuha and Kurisu how he's going to jump back 2 days to give them more time to fix the machine. You're not going to name the operation?
Who the hell cares about that now?
Alright, before we continue onwards into the second half of this chapter, yes, this is still the same chapter, let's take a little breather. In a way, Chapter 6 kind of mirrors the prologue in Chapter 1. It starts off crazy and bombastic. Mayuri is repeatedly dying. Okabe is desperately trying to save her. But now that we're repairing the time machine, the story is once again going to slow way down. The problem is that unlike the prologue, which obviously set up a bunch of shit but added no real stakes to the story, this section does. We have something hanging over our heads now, which could potentially cause frustration in the reader when the gang focuses on some more inane bullshit for a while. Anyway, Okabe is now back to the 11th and quickly explains the situation to Suzuha. She runs back to Radicon to confirm what he said, and then they once again explain everything to the other lab mems. Daru is all set to go look at the time machine. However...
Guys? Aren't we forgetting something? What about Suzu-san's dad?
That doesn't matter now, does it?
It does too! I mean, it'll take time to fix the time machine, won't it? We should help Suzu-san find her dad in the meantime.
And this is exactly what I meant. While Daru is in the background of most of this chapter fixing the time machine, we're on the hunt for Suzuha's dad. And just like she said, it doesn't really matter now, does it? I mean, in the end, it does end up mattering, but for us right now, either you already know who her dad is and this is a waste of time, or it seems entirely unimportant and this is still a waste of time. There's also some weird, almost plot-holy stuff that has to be just so in order to make this plot work. Suzuha claims that her father exclusively used his code name around her, Barrel Tighter, remember? So she doesn't know his real name. Apparently he died before he could tell her, but we never get a timeline of how old Suzuha was when he actually kicked it. Later on, we will learn that she was old enough to remember what he looked like from a brief comment we received from her, so she must have been at least 5 or 6, and she never knew his real name. Literally how? The only thing she has of his is an old pin, the one she's been fiddling with throughout the story so far. It has a weird engraving on it, the text OSHM***A7010. Nothing comes up in a Google search for it, but it's gotta be a clue, right? Okabe still thinks this is a waste of time, but we can't just zoom ahead to when Daru's got the machine fixed. That would feel anticlimactic, so we've got to do something with the plot until then, I guess. Suzuha makes them promise they'll give up if the repairs are done before they find him, and they agree. The gang sneaks into Radicon to take a look at the machine, and Daru checks out what he's got to work with.
Well, I still don't know for sure, but there is one thing I noticed just now. It's built kind of like the phone wave.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Okabe says it needs to happen in 2 days. Daru asks him why, and Suzuha makes the excuse that the weather won't be right for another year if they don't. The rest of the crew spends the day trying to locate where Suzuha's pin came from, but with no success. The next morning, Kurisu and Suzuha wake Okabe up early in the morning to show him something. A strange device that we, as the audience, have definitely seen before. Many times at this point. Apparently, it's called a divergence meter, and it measures how close they are to breaking through the attractor field. Hit 1%, and they've done it.
Can you guess who made it? You did, Okabe Rintaro. You made it. 11 years from now. It apparently works the same way your special power does.
Suzuha gives him the divergence meter as a gift. Later on, the search for Suzuha's pin continues. Still no luck. Until, that is, he runs into a foreign street vendor selling metal pins. Okabe attempts to communicate in English.
Hey, master! I am mad scientist! So cool! Son of a bitch!
And Dragon can sleep peacefully tonight, knowing that he got to say his favorite line in the entire world. You're welcome. Anyway, he doesn't have that pin, but Okabe tells him to let him know if he learns anything. He then meets up with Suzuha, who has a drink for him. They talk for a while, and Suzuha admits that she doesn't think she's meant to meet her dad.
How can you give up? We still have one more day. Everyone's fighting for your sake. Don't you get it? Me? I want to prioritize Mayuri over everything else. But you're still a lab mem. And a friend. When a friend's in trouble, you want to help them. That's how Mayuri felt. And I agree, that's why I'm searching. How dare you be the first to give up?
You don't have to yell.
Don't disappoint me like this!
I'm sorry, but maybe you should think about how I feel.
There's silence for a minute. Okabe apologizes, and their conversation ends on a bit of an awkward note. Obviously, Okabe's very worked up over this whole thing. You can choose which of the various lab mems to call up now to check on their progress, and each gives you a different humorous scene, but we've got enough to cover, so we're moving on. At the end of the day, Okabe and Suzuha still have come up empty-handed. Okabe decides to probe her just a little bit about the future. Like, for instance, how the hell did lame-ass Okabe become a famous terrorist?
You rebelled against SERN. You're actually one of the founding members of the Resistance, just like my dad.
I guess it makes sense, given what we're going through now. In such a future, how could I not rebel against SERN? Rebellion against the dark powers that control the world from the shadows. Destroying the ruling structure of the world, creating a new age of chaos. Weren't those always my ambitions as a mad scientist? How stupid.
Stupid?
Oh, I guess he said that last part out loud. Suzuha tells him that she thinks his cause is an incredibly noble one, and he asks her what sort of man he becomes. But she doesn't have an answer for him. They never actually met.
You were killed by SERN in 2025.
Oh shit, that's this year. Happy Death Day, Okabe Rintaro. You will be forever missed, I guess.
Understand? If you don't change the future, you're going to die in 15 years. Shiina Mayuri will die. You will die. Makise Kurisu will be a slave to SERN.
She tells him that to her, they were all just stories, almost legends. But now they're her friends, and she wants to save them, and that reinvigorates Okabe. They head over to Radicon to see how Daru is doing. Mayuri is there as well, and while Daru and Suzuha discuss the machine, she talks to Okabe. She's worried about her trip to 1975 since her machine is not a CERN model and seems a little unstable. She wonders if she should go with Suzuha. But what would Mayuri do in 1975?
I'd cheer Suzu-san on, of course. I'd hold her hand super tight and tell her that everything's going to be okay.
Mayuri, I love the enthusiasm, but oh, and there she goes to see if the time machine has a name. It does, but it's just some letters and numbers.
Anyway, don't you think Daru-kun and Suzu-san are a good match?
Weird comment? Daru is all about Ferris after all. Mayuri runs back over to check out the time machine again, and Suzuha stands beside Okabe.
Hashida Itaru's amazing. He said if things go well, he could have the time machine fixed by tomorrow. And he looks so unhealthy and slow.
Thanks? Rude?
There's something I want to say, and I feel like I'll never get another chance. I'm really grateful to you. All of you. Living with you guys in this time, it's been really fun. 2036 is peaceful too. People don't even fight anymore. Did you know that?
She goes on to describe how not only wars, but almost all forms of conflict have vanished entirely. How there's no ambition, no dreams. Everyone just wanders through life with eyes like dead fish. She envies how full of life everyone is here. Okabe thinks that she's the amazing one, but she disagrees.
It's thanks to all of you that I'm still going strong. Being a lab mem. Even for just a little while. It was great. Change the future, Okabe Rintaro. Make it a world like this one, where people can be free.
After we fix the time machine, let's have a party.
Yeah, let's. Thank you.
Later, Okabe gets a phone call. It's from the street vendor who, after some miscommunication, informs him that someone came by looking for him to make a pin of the exact specifications that Okabe was looking for. He wants to time leap back to that exact time to catch them in the act, but has to wait a few minutes for Kurisu to, once again, complete the time leap machine. And so he does, and stakes out the vendor's stall until...
Is that... Daru?
Ugh! Ocarine?
So... yeah, as it turns out, Daru is the one who wanted those pins. Why?
Amane, she's gonna be sad if we don't find her old man, right? So if that happens, I'll show her the badges I made and, well, lie that her dad was here.
But why is he suddenly so concerned about making Suzuha happy? Well, apparently she told him not to tell anyone this, but since her time machine's so shoddy, it only goes backwards. When she's in 1975, she can't come back.
Ever.
This bit's so dumb. Once again, Okabe meets Mayuri, Daru, and Suzuha on the roof of Radicon.
I'd cheer Suzu-san on, of course. I'd hold her hand super tight and tell her that everything's going to be okay.
There's something I want to say, and I feel like I'll never get another chance. I'm really grateful to you. All of you. Living with you guys in this time, it's been really fun.
Suzuha chose this mission. To change the future. To save Mayuri. Unless Suzuha travels to 1975, Mayuri will die. But then, what about Suzuha herself?
He asks if she regrets spending time with them, and she immediately clocks that Daru told him. She says it doesn't matter how she feels, and Okabe wonders what she would do if they asked her to stay. Of course, she would go anyway.
I want the people in my time to be free like you. Free to laugh and play, fight and argue, get sad and cry. Maybe I don't have the right, but I'm going anyway.
And finally, the repairs on the time machine are complete. Mayuri is thrilled, but of course, Okabe's heart is heavy. Oh boy, here we go. Suzuha offers her pin to Okabe to keep in the lab somewhere to remember her, but Daru has a better idea. Make duplicates so that everyone can have one, and then Suzuha can keep hers. But just before Suzuha goes, Mayuri has an important announcement to make.
Actually, Mayushi found Suzu-san's dad. Want to meet him? You do, don't ya? Well, he's here with us today. Allow me to introduce you. Suzu-san's dad is...
And Mayuri points her finger at Daru. Wow. Who would have ever guessed? Certainly not me back in chapter 4. Also, I want y'all to know that the only stated reason for Suzuha to not recognize him is that her dad isn't fat. I think you would still recognize your own father if he lost some weight. Again, we're never told how old she was when he died, so I have to assume she has some real memories of him, which just makes this whole thing ridiculous. Anyway, Mayuri's got some actually pretty compelling evidence. She thinks the 7010 on the pin is actually 2010, and the bottom of the 2 just fell off. And as for the letters?
Okabe, Shiina, Hashida, Makise, and finally, Amane!
It's our initials?
So I was thinking, why 2010? And then I remembered it's the year of the lab mems. The Future Gadget Laboratory was founded this year.
Her more compelling thought is that while Suzuha has a lot of info about Kurisu and Okabe, she's never really mentioned Daru, which is weird considering that of the 3, he is the most competent by a lot.
Beryl Titer helped Okarin found the Resistance, right? And he was an Akiba in 2010. And he was able to build his own time machine. And he knew about Okarin's reading stoner.
Reading Steiner.
He knew about it. Doesn't that fit Daru-kun perfectly?
Also, they have the exact same hair color. Also, Suzuha failed to meet her dad at the time travel meetup after Okabe and Kurisu prevented Daru from going. Also, the name of the time machine is FG204 2nd edition version 2.31, which is a Daru-ass name if I've ever heard it, and the FG is probably Future Gadget. Also, apparently, Taru is barrel in Japanese, which is pretty close to Daru.
Dad.
Could you call me Papa instead?
For once in your life, don't be a perv.
Dad. I came, Dad. I came to see you. In the time machine you built. I'm going to finish what you started, Dad, I promise. Watch over me, okay?
I'm watching. Of course I am.
They embrace, and even though I'm annoyed at all the plot holes that needed to occur to make this happen, I still think it's a pretty good conclusion and really adds an extra dimension to Daru's character, one that will be heavily expanded on come Steins Gate 0, which I have finally read for your information.
But by the way, was your mother cute? Request petite girl with cute face and big boobs.
That's a secret.
But my favorite part of all of this is that, of everybody here, it is only Daru who is ever confirmed to get married and have a real relationship with someone. Honestly, what a king. But with that, it's time for Suzuha to go. She hops aboard her machine and sends Okabe one last email.
Goodbye.
Suzuha! I'm sure we'll meet again. I'll do my best until then. I hate myself for not knowing any other way to say it, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best, I promise. So Suzuha, do your best too.
And then, Suzuha is gone. But they don't have time to mourn, because there's only about an hour and a half before the Rounders attack the lab, and they need to get their grubby little mitts on the IBN 5100 that Suzuha must have gotten before then. So to that end, they return to the lab, wondering if a 54-year-old woman will be waiting there to meet them. She's not. They head inside, and Okabe takes a peek at the divergence meter she left him. It hasn't changed. Just when they're kind of freaking out about meeting up with Suzuha again, there's a knock on the door. Is it her? Nope, it's Tennouji.
Hey, have you seen my part-timer?
They cover for her, saying that, oh, she went back to her hometown and she definitely won't be back. This annoys him, but apparently it's not why he's here.
Well, whatever. I've got something for you, Okabe. It's from the lady who used to own this building. She asked me to give it to you on this day. How did you know Suzu-san anyway?
He hands him a letter. The name on the front is Hashida Suzu. Okabe asks where she is now.
Huh? She passed away 10 years ago.
She was in her mid-40s when she died. The age fits. Suzuha is dead. Once Tennouji leaves, The lab mems open the letter.
Dear Okabe Rintaro, it's me, Amane Suzuha, Hashida Taiter's daughter. It's been a long time, though for you I'm sure only a few hours have passed. The date is June 13th, the year 2000, meaning I'm writing this 10 years before you will read it. I'll get right to the point. I failed.
Because of the quick patch job that Daru did on the machine, Suzuha reached 1975, but lost her memories. She only remembered who she was the year previous. Since she lived a carefree life, she forgot about her duty to get the IBN 5100, and now it is, obviously, far too late.
Now my life has no meaning at all. It's worthless. Worthless. I wish I hadn't remembered. I'm glad I finally remembered. I'm glad I had this chance to say sorry.
Of course, it all went wrong the night she was originally supposed to leave. The time machine was damaged by the rainstorm, and she only stayed because Okabe found her and asked her to. And so she asks him to let her leave.
I promised Dad. This was his dream. I want to change the future. I'm sorry. My life was meaningless.
Daru freaks out. Okabe gets mad at him. It's up to Kurisu to calm the two of them down. Okabe sticks his head out the window and asks Tennouji how Suzuha died.
I don't like to talk about it. But alright. Listen good, okay?
As it turns out, Suzuha committed suicide. And Tennouji was the one who found her. She gave Tennouji a place to stay when he had nowhere to go, and gave him the building after she went. So now he's passing on her last words to Okabe. Just like she wanted. Okabe collapses and waffles about what to do for a really long time. This is going to be a trend in these next couple of chapters. I'm going to cut a lot of it out for the sake of time, but just know that they are happening constantly. We are going to talk about it later. Eventually, of course, he comes to the correct conclusion that he has to undo the D-mail he sent to himself that made him pursue Suzuha that evening. He sets up the phone wave to do just that, but hesitates.
Is erasing those memories really the right thing to do? Isn't that just running away from reality? What should I do? What's the right choice?
And here is where I'm going to speak directly to you. Yes, you filthy casual anime-only watchers. Please, I'm kidding. I don't know why I find this bit so funny. Up until this point, the visual novel and the anime of Steins Gate have been very similar. Obviously, the anime cut out a bunch of the extra dialogue and Okabe's narration, but besides that, they followed the same story pretty much beat for beat. Here's where that ceases to be the case. Because this is where Steins Gate finally does something that you can't do in anime. It lets you make a choice. Wow! The phone mechanic is now actually a mechanic! Unbelievable! Now, on a sliding scale from Higurashi, which had no choices whatsoever, and something like, say, Slay the Princess, which is entirely built upon the choices that you as a player make, Steins Gate definitely errs more towards the Higurashi side. These choices that we're about to make in the following chapters only lead to alternate endings. But, since none of those endings are featured in the anime whatsoever, I'm going to focus on them a little more heavily than I might otherwise. Also, they're kind of the best part of this second half, for the most part. They also allow Hayashi to explore elements of time travel that he can't really in the main plot. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So, here we go. What happens if you refuse to send the D-mail? Okabe time leaps back instead, and we are greeted with this scene.
The wind caresses my cheek. I push down on the paddles and begin the ascent up Harumi Bridge. Sweat oozes out of every pore, but it's not unpleasant. It feels good. Healthy, like running around the school field as a child.
The weather's so nice!
Woo. Why did I have to come along?
Same here. The wind's too strong.
What a view!
The gang is all going biking? That's right. Okabe has made a decision, and that decision is to not make one at all. He's going to spend the rest of his days looping this 2-day cycle over and over again. You know, like a bicycle. Hayashi, please die in a hole where no one will ever find you. As you can see, the gang is taking a bike ride. Their destination is Big Sight, the home of Kamima, the big weeb convention that Mayuri has been making costumes for. Okabe expresses familiarity with the area, and Mayuri is a little surprised, but of course he should be.
This should be the 4th cycle. This time, only I know Mayuri's fated to die. By keeping that secret, I'd allow us to spend these days like normal kids our age would.
He likes to repeat this bike trip because Mayuri and Suzuha are having a great time, but Kurisu and Daru, not so much. Daru has to take a break and decides to do so right up against the guardrail of the road. Okabe warns him that it's not safe there, and just as he said it, a huge truck speeds past, almost knocking Daru over. Good thing he had the warning. It's almost like Okabe already knew it was going to happen. They make it to Big Sight. Suzuha has only heard of it as myth, so is incredibly excited to be here.
So this is where they have Kamima. I've heard of it. Hundreds of thousands of people come, right? Mom said that's where she met my dad.
Of course, this time he can't tell her who her father is. The gang runs off to find something to eat, but Okabe stays behind a bit.
Today was fun. Tomorrow will be fun. Every day will be fun. Forever. The wind caresses my cheek. I push down on the pedals and begin the ascent up Harumi Bridge. Sweat oozes out of every pore, but it's not unpleasant. It feels good, healthy, like running around the school field as a child.
The weather's so nice!
Woo. Why did I have to come along?
Same here. The wind's too strong.
What a view!
As you can see, the gang is taking a bike ride. Their destination is Big Sight, the home of Kamima, the big weeb convention that Mayuri has been making costumes for. Okabe expresses familiarity with the area, and Mayuri is a little surprised, but of course, he should be.
What cycle is this? My 10th? Must be more than that by now. Moeka's attack, Mayuri's death, those things will never, ever happen. Today, once again, we're off on an adventure.
Daru has to take a break and decides to do so right up against the guardrail of the road. Okabe almost warns him, as he always does, but the words get stuck in his throat.
What will happen if I don't pull Daru back? Will it send him flying like a rag doll? Will it take off his head? Will blood spray from the stump like a crimson fountain? Will the girl scream, I wonder? Let's find out. What difference does it make if Daru dies? Go back to the start of the loop, and Daru will be there as good as new. For these 2 days, I am God. I choose who lives and who...
The truck blows past him, almost knocking Daru off his feet, but he's still fine. Okabe internally panics, realizing what he almost just did.
Okabe Rintaro?
He flinches at Suzuha's questioning stare, but she goes no further, and the group continues on to Big Sight.
I am this world's observer. Nothing can escape my subjectivity. Everyone and everything in the universe itself exists in the shape I wish for it to exist. Mayuri, Kurisu, Daru, even Suzuha. None of us need ever face death, a 48-hour eternity. I am the creator of this paradise, and so I know tomorrow will be another wonderful day.
They make it to Big Sight. Suzuha has heard it only as myth, so is incredibly excited to be here. Mayuri and Daru go off to find some food, but Suzuha and Okabe stay behind. Okabe examines Suzuha. His eyes roam over her body.
What if I lure her into a dark corner and have my way with her? What then?
You want a woman, don't you? Of course you do. It's instinct. You're not a saint, Okabe Rintaro. What was it you call yourself again? That's right. An insane mad scientist. If you're really insane, then let's see you snap. Remember, you have the power of a god. You can rape her and then undo it with the time leap machine.
This second voice Okabe is hearing in his head, he identifies as Howin Kyoma. Lovely, he's really losing his marbles now, and might be a little dangerous? Luckily, Suzuha notices how pale he is, and that kinda snaps him out of it. He gets away from her, realizing how far gone he's becoming. He has a whole big monologue about it, but Draken just got like 3 of those, so suffice it to say, he's not doing great. There's only one problem. He can't keep time looping like this, but it's the one solution he's got.
The wind caresses my cheek. I push down on the pedals and begin the ascent up Harumi Bridge. The sweat oozes out of every pore, but it's not unpleasant. It feels good, healthy, like running around the school field as a child.
The weather's so nice!
Woo. Why did I have to come along?
Same here. The wind's too strong.
What a view!
As you can see, the gang is taking a bike ride. Their destination is Big Sight, the home of Kamima, the big weeb convention that Mayuri has been making costumes for. Okabe expresses familiarity with the area, and Mayuri is a little surprised, but of course, he should be.
Hundreds of days have passed since this began. Maybe thousands. How many cycles has it been?
Okabe has gone beyond twisted. He is simply exhausted. He stopped seeing his friends as people a long time ago. He acts aggressively in all of the previously experienced situations, and Suzuha obviously notices. They make it to Big Sight. Suzuha has heard of it only as myth and is incredibly excited to be here. Mayuri and Daru go off to find some food, but Suzuha and Okabe stay behind.
Hey, wasn't there a movie about a guy who gets trapped in some kind of a time loop? Groundhog Day, right? It was like 100 years old when I saw it.
Oh, do you mean Groundhog Day starring Bill Murray, one of my favorite movies of all time?
It was pretty unsatisfying. I mean, the loop ends without the hero really doing anything. Like, he becomes a good person and suddenly happy ending. Kinda dumb.
Shut up, shut up, shut up!
You're trapped in a loop too, aren't you? All of us are.
She confronts him with this, and he finally tells her that he's trying to prevent both her and Mayuri's deaths. But Suzuha claims that's not a solution.
But I'm not looking for a solution.
Do you intend to keep looping forever?
Yes. I've accepted that duty.
You haven't accepted anything. Can't you see how it's twisted you? Your body may never die, but look at yourself, Okabe Rintaro. Your soul is already hanging by a thread.
But what other choice does he have? He can't let either of them die. Except Suzuha has one.
Will you come with me, Okabe Rintaro? Will you come with me? To 1975?
They don't know for sure, but maybe if they go together, this time Suzuha won't fail. After a minute, he agrees. So the two of them abandon this world, walking hand in hand towards the future, past.
The time has come for us to depart. Our mission? To change 35 years of history. We boldly lift our heads, ready to challenge fate. Together.
So, you can potentially see why I put a little more focus on this ending. I understand entirely why the anime felt it had to cut these out. It makes a lot less sense within the context of an anime than it does a visual novel, but it's still a damn shame. Honestly, the alternate endings are kind of my favorite part of the second half. They are mostly used to explore various time travel subtropes. Obviously, this one is focused on time looping, but the others will feature different aspects of time travel that the main game doesn't really have the time to focus on. They all have very different tones as well. This one was obviously super edgelordy and kind of dark, but the fact that they're weird little side routes gives Hayashi a lot more freedom with his tone and content therein. I think they're fun little experiments, and a great way to give each heroine her own ending without fucking up the narrative he wants to tell. We're going to see more of these soon, but for now, let's travel back in time via our save file and make sure that Okabe sends that D-mail this time. Speaking of things the anime cut, did you know that half of Ferris's chapter is simply gone in the anime? No, like, for real. If you ever wondered why Ferris's episodes in the anime feel really disjointed, it's because half the damn chapter is gone. You may be wondering to yourself, gee, why did they even get rid of it in the first place? And well, the answer is because it's really a waste of goddamn time. It's also one of my other favorite parts of the second half, but also I have the Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme song memorized. Take of that what you will, and let's get into it. After he refrains from barfing, Okabe looks around the lab only to realize that the divergence meter is gone.
A surge of regret seizes my heart. I clench my teeth and endure it as best I can. If nobody else remembers, then I alone will keep these memories of Suzuha alive.
Look, I'm trying to limit the amount of wibbling that Dragon has to do in these lines, both for his sake, my sake, and your sake, but just know that from here on out, it is constantly happening. Like I said, we're gonna get more into that later. Right now, it's about the time that Mayuri is supposed to die, but there's no news of train delays. It looks like the attack on the lab won't happen tonight. Okabe spends the next 2 hours having a near panic attack in case it does, but no goons break into the lab that evening. He sends everyone home, including Daru, and escorts the girls back to their respective dwellings. Kurisu split off earlier, and now he's riding the train with Mayuri back to Ikebukuro.
It's the night of the 13th, and Mayuri's still alive. How many times have I watched her die? How many times have I tasted that despair? No matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, she died again and again, right before my eyes. I'm sorry, Suzuha, and thank you.
Look, I'll stop now, I promise. I'm just trying to make a point. The next morning, Okabe heads back to the lab and runs into Tennouji on his way in. He asks if Okabe is looking for a job, and Okabe asks what happened to Suzuha.
Suzuha? Who the hell's that? I ain't got time to remember the name of some lazy part-timer who quit after just 10 days.
Thanks, Tennouji, for briefly scaring the daylights out of us. Okabe changes the subject, at least from Tennouji's perspective, and asks if he knew Hashida Suzu. He did indeed.
It's been 10 years already. Huh. She really helped me out. To tell you the truth, though, she looked peaceful when I found her.
Yep, as it turns out, even though Suzuha is still dead, in this world line, she didn't kill herself. She was simply sick. Tennouji asks if Okabe wants to pay respects at her altar since he's living in her old house, and Okabe agrees. They walk past Radicon, and of course the satellite has been gone for about 5 days. When they make it to Tennouji's house, Okabe is greeted by the sight of Suzuha's mountain bike, though now it's incredibly old and a little rusty. Now Tennouji tells us his story. He was raised in Europe, apparently, but after his parents died, he decided to move to Japan. Presumably they were both Japanese, just living in Europe.
Suzu-san was living alone next door. She looked after me when I had nowhere else to turn.
Tennouji's house later burned down due to his smoking habit, and Suzu allowed him to move into her place. She eventually even sold him the building that the Brontu workshop and the future gadget laboratory are located in. And then Tennouji brings out her prized possession, the divergence meter. And indeed, divergence has changed. We are a little bit closer to that 1% we want to reach. Tennouji gives him the divergence meter, and Okabe is carrying it when he goes to meet Mayuri at the station. So you're the devoted type, huh? All of a sudden you're treating Mayuri like a princess.
Okarin really loves Mayushi.
Kurisu finally broaches the subject. Are Okabe and Mayuri a couple? Of course not. They're just childhood friends, is all.
Christina, you disappoint me. You've finally revealed your true nature. I saw how your eyes lit up at the first hint of romance. You're nothing but a filthy mainstream girl.
What the hell are you on about, you self-proclaimed mad scientist Chunibyo nutcase? Okabe is happy that things must be going back to normal now, right? I mean, Mayuri's still alive after all, but one thing is bugging him. The divergence meter only reads 0.4, and Suzu has said Mayuri would be saved when they reached 1%. He prepares, but hopes nothing will actually happen.
Please let Mayuri be safe. Please don't let anything happen.
Yeah, did you really think that was how this was going to work? Just 1 day delayed, the attack on the lab happens as scheduled. Mayuri dies, Okabe time leaps, and finally, incredibly frustrated, goes to talk with Kurisu. Sincerely, he asks for her help. Now this is a shock. I never thought I'd hear those words from you. Do you have a fever?
No jokes. I seriously need your help.
You time leaped, didn't you? He explains everything to her again. I'm going to be saying that sentence a lot in this video. And Kurisu comes to the conclusion that Okabe probably has to get back to the world line where he actually possessed the IBN 5100. You threw a fit about that earlier. I remember thinking, oh god, Okabe's finally lost his ability to distinguish fantasy from reality.
You're such a wannabe American. What do you mean, oh god? Oh, I get it. Christian is a Christian.
That's terrible.
I regret it too.
After that abysmal display, the two come to the conclusion that Okabe is going to have to erase all of the previous changes that were made to the timeline with the D-mails. So that means going back to all of the girls one by one and getting them to go back on their wishes. You can see how this will be the cause for much drama. As soon as we know this, we also know exactly how the next 4 chapters are going to go. Again, I'll be talking about this in much more detail in a bit. Okabe thanks her sincerely for her help again and is going to give her plan a shot. I wish I could remember it too. Then I'd always have something to rub your nose in.
You really have an awful personality.
You're one to talk. Alright, let's get to it. Who was the last person to make a D-mail before Okabe made Suzuha's? That's right, it was Ferris, the result of which entirely altered the landscape of Akiba. There's one problem with that though. We don't actually know what Ferris's D-mail said. So, to that end, he tries calling her, gets her voicemail, sends her a couple of mails, calls her a couple more times, and no response. He even goes to her apartment, but the butler informs him that Ferris is currently out, but refuses to tell him where she is. But Okabe has one ace in the hole, someone who always knows where Ferris is.
Ferris, Pam. Right now? That's not gonna happen. I know where she is, sure, in the UPX assembly hall. Today's the final of the Rhinet ABGC.
Of course, remember, in this timeline, Ferris is not a cat girl maid, but rather a champion-level player at Rhinet Axis Battlers. Okabe heads over to UPX, but obviously does not have a ticket. He waits until 4 p.m. when the event is supposed to end, but still, there's no sign of Ferris. Frustrated, he decides to ask a passing dude if he's seen her.
Do you know where Rhinet champion Ferris-san is?
Oh, Rhinet champion Ferris-san? You guys hear that? What, you're a friend of the former champ?
This little punk thing gets right in Okabe's face and headbutts him. Entirely unprompted! I mean, I think we all want to headbutt Okabe a bit, but wait for him to say something moronic first. Jeez, it's not like it'll even take that long.
Sorry, but you asked for it. It made my dirty heart ache to hear you call that pussy a champion. Get it? Don't even call that disgusting cat girl a champion to my face again. Not unless you want your body and soul frozen by yours truly. The king of the streets. The one and only Black Absolute Zero. The name's Shido. That's Shido, you get me? I'm the strongest and coolest Rhinetter to ever rule the streets of Akiba. Nobody comes close. Nobody.
Listen, I know that he pronounces his name as Shido. She, like the number 4, and do, presumably somehow for degrees Celsius. But why the fuck would I call him that when I could instead refer to him as 4 degrees Celsius like the little douche canoe he is? God, I love this man. He's so silly.
Did you know dry ice is so cold it burns?
It's not a burn, it's frostbite.
What?
Yeah, so it seems like Ferris must have lost her big match, and to 4 degrees Celsius, of all people. Okabe wonders if he missed her and returns to her apartment, and looks like he did, because the butler lets him in. Needless to say, Ferris is very depressed about the whole thing.
This can't be happening, nya. Why did Ferris have to lose, nyan? If only those guys hadn't used underhanded tricks on me, nya. They ganged up on Ferris. I even promised Papa I'd win. He's probably disappointed in me, nya. I'm too ashamed to show my face, nya.
But Okabe doesn't give a single shit about that. He asks her if she remembers her D-mail, which of course she shouldn't, because she didn't make it on this timeline. However, one word does stick out to her in all of this.
Time machine. Time machine. Kyoma. Is it a real time machine, nya?
She presses herself against him.
I'm about to remember, nya. Ferris got on the time machine, and it went zoom, and...
What? But you didn't ride anything, you sent a D-mail to the past.
Nya. That's it, nya.
I'm starting to remember more and more, Nya.
She tells him her brains are turning to mush, but maybe, just maybe, if she wins that tournament, she might be able to remember. Uh-huh. Sure thing. Okabe, true to form, realizes that he's probably being fucked with, but what real choice does he have? He agrees to go back and change the result of her match, and then quickly dodges as she tries to tackle hug him. Ferris tells him to bring her sunglasses and earplugs before the match, and he sincerely hopes she's right. So he time leaps and heads to UPX before the match starts, bringing the requested earplugs and sunglasses. However, as soon as he tells her she loses, Ferris throws a little temper tantrum.
Like I said, there's no way I can lose, Nya. And I don't want you to wear those ugly glasses, Nya. Ferris needs to be cute at every moment. My fans are counting on me, Nya.
She makes a big scene, which draws the attention of who else but her big rival, 4 degrees Celsius.
Seriously, you disappoint me, champion. You flirt with the system, but that's just noise to my heart. You put on the airs of a Siamese cat. But with this duel today, I'll dye that white fur of yours jet black. Gaia has thus whispered, the black cat is the sign of disaster. My black radiance shall outshine your shadow, ushering in a new generation of Rainet. Women are already slaves to the living rock mind that is myself.
Damn, this guy can talk. Though I have no idea what he's saying.
Okay, so obviously 4 degrees Celsius is supposed to be a parallel to Okabe himself. He says stupid dumb shit that nobody understands and acts like a pompous ass. The difference is, of course, that Okabe was a silly little weirdo and 4 degrees Celsius is a literal gang leader. So, you know, there's that. Primarily his character is here, and gets a full sprite, to show us just how divorced Okabe has quickly become from his Chuny delusions. You know, in case you hadn't seen it yourself yet. They almost get into a fight, but Okabe can Chuny with the best of them. He points out the bald spot 4 degrees Celsius is hiding under his hat that he just happened to see in the previous timeline, and 4 degrees Celsius kinda freaks out about how he knows.
Elementary 4D. I am an insane mad scientist and traveler through time. Nothing escapes the sight of Hoin Kiyoma.
God, I miss him every day.
The name's Shido! Now you've gone too far! For the sin of insulting my ultra-cool badass name, I'll summon you to my garden, the Black Hell! Just you wait!
And he promptly fucks off. Since he somehow knew 4 degrees Celsius' weak spot that no one else has ever found, Ferris is a little more inclined to believe him and agrees to take his accessories up on stage with her, at least. Okabe gets himself a ticket and goes to watch Ferris' match. Of course, when the announcer calls her up to the stage, she gets big applause.
Serve a shot, Nyan?
But one thing doesn't make sense to Okabe. There's 2 viral attackers on stage, but only 1 Ferris. Daru explains that usually Rainet is done with 2-person teams, the second person only really there to help strategize, but since no one is strong enough to be Ferris' partner, she goes it alone.
These viral attackers. What sort of team are they?
There's a bunch of suspicious rumors about them. They've got a lot of followers, you see, and apparently they don't mind using those followers to interfere with their opponents during duels.
A lot of the teams they were supposed to fight against were no-shows, and they also like to beat up random otaku in their free time. But alright, it's time for the game to begin. Rainet's gameplay is very simple with a lot of complications. You get 4 link cards and 4 virus cards. Your goal is to trick your opponent into flipping over your virus cards or flipping over their link cards, so the game is mostly a psychological battle, hence the other player to help. Unfortunately, the battle doesn't go so well for Ferris. Usually she's a cautious player, but this time she goes balls to the wall, but ends up pulling one of their virus cards.
This black nobleman set off a red alarm in your heart, awakening your wild survival instincts. And that's why you suddenly changed your strategy.
Bro literally thinks he's Seto Kaiba. Bro will never be Seto fucking Kaiba, okay? But in addition to the mind battle, it seems like something else is going on, and then Okabe sees it. There's a laser shining in Ferris's eyes. So Okabe wades through the crowd, trying to find the douche lord responsible. Unfortunately, it takes him a pretty long time, and in the meantime, Ferris is being forced into a corner. She makes a seemingly fatal error. Ferris tries to send an already revealed virus card into 4 degrees Celsius' server, which is a really weird play, apparently. I don't know, this is a made-up card game that I've never played. Okabe finds the laser man and threatens him by once again pushing the bit particle gun into his side. Thinking it's a real gun, the man gives up the laser. But there's a problem. While he was distracted, Ferris has taken 3 virus cards, and the viral attackers have also taken 3 of her link cards. This is really not good. 4 degrees Celsius yells something about Ferris being able to read minds or something dumb like that, but just as soon as it looks like he might discredit her, Ferris makes a surprise move.
I use change directory. Nya.
It's a card that allows you to flip the placement of 2 of your cards, and any card that was previously revealed gets flipped back over. So of course, she switches the previously revealed virus card with a different one. Or does she?
This black peacock's sexual eyes can already see my elegant victory. They can see the contents of your crazy cards. You exchanged 1 virus and 1 link. So all I've got to do is take both, and victory belongs to us, black noblemen.
They only have 2 virus cards right now, so when they flip their chosen card over and it's revealed to, of course, be a virus card, it's only match point.
The black revelations have been fulfilled. The pussy champ has fallen from grace to former champ. We, the viral attackers, now raise the curtain to the highest, grandest, sexiest new generation.
What are you talking about, Nya?
You may have noticed that Ferris has been nearly silent this whole time. That's because she's been wearing the earplugs that Okabe gave her.
Why don't you check the card you just took from Ferris, Nya?
Because the card they snatched, the second card she switched, it wasn't a link card at all. It was another virus card, which means she wins.
Gilma! Thanks for everything, Nyan.
After the event, she meets Okabe outside and tackles him, giving him a peck on the cheek. Ferris apologizes for doubting him, and Okabe explains the situation more properly.
Ferris was probably pulling your tail, Nya. I'm sure she just played along with Kilma, and she said she remembered. That's what I think, Nya. That's probably what Ferris would do, Nya.
Ferris then stares into his eyes, claims that she does indeed have a power, though it isn't to read people's minds. She can just tell when they're lying. She calls it Cheshire Break, and she uses it now to tell that Okabe definitely isn't lying. But even if she believes his story, she doesn't remember her D-mail. She can't help him. Unfortunately, Okabe feels eyes on him just then. The paranoid bastard immediately jumps to rounders, but it turns out to be 4 degrees Celsius and his goon squad. He claims that she cheated in the match, which is total bullshit because he was the one cheating.
By the way, your old man's some kind of big shot in Akihabara, isn't he? I bet he pulled a string so they'd let you win. That's what all the hip rioters are saying, you know?
The other viral attacker groupies join in, and it's clear they're trying to make a big scene so rumors about Ferris start to spread, even if they're not true at all. Okabe grabs Ferris's wrist and tries to leave the circle, but the viral attackers start chasing them. And it turns into a full-on chase sequence? Okabe manages to call Daru, who informs him that everything is already on fire. Apparently the attackers are making a big stink on her blogs and fan sites too. What scumlords. All for a fucking children's card game. Man, if he was actually Kaiba, 4 degrees Celsius would have just bought the fan sites and started running them himself. If you're going to be petty, you've got to be thinking bigger, man. They make it back to Ferris's apartment, but viral attackers have already been stationed out front. There's no escape there. Their only other hope is the lab, but the attackers are already there as well. But there's one more hope. The ramen shop right behind the lab. The one that used to be May Queen plus Nyan Nyan. The second floor seems to be a storeroom, so they hide up there. Okabe texts Daru, instructing him to find them a cab, and then they finally catch their breath for a minute. Okabe makes a comment about how he wishes this was still May Queen, and we learn why it doesn't exist in this world line.
Ferris organized the cafe's plans and passed it through the conference. It was almost a done deal, Nyan. But at the last moment, Papa put his paw down and the plan died, yeah?
So if it wasn't for her father, May Queen would be here. Ferris also mentioned that she's a lot of the reason why Moe culture thrives in Akiba, but when he asks her if she attends the development conferences like she said she did, she seems confused.
Papa's the one who goes to the conferences, nya? Why would Ferris have to go, nya?
In addition, one of the reasons why Akiba is the electric town is because Ferris's dad loves retro PCs, and she says he'd never give one up, even if on a different world line, someone from the Akiba residence donated an IBM 5100 to Yanabayashi Shrine. Okabe asks her, hypothetically, if she was the one who attended those conferences, what would she do? And she describes the Akiba that Okabe knows and loves exactly. I think something is going on here. I think the D-mail had something to do with her father. Okabe continues probing, asking how hypothetically she would stop herself from having to participate by changing the past, and she says something dramatic, like if she got kidnapped, or she falls silent.
Kidnapped. Ugh. My head hurts, Nya. Hey, Kyoma? Ferris has been feeling funny since coming to this storehouse, Nya. Even though I only came here once, it feels really nostalgic. Like I've been here many times, Nya.
And then, Ferris remembers. She remembers May Queen plus Nyan Nyan and how Okabe and Daru were regulars there and talking to them about the time machine and sending the D-mail. Oh, yeah. She remembers her D-mail too. And I'm sincerely sorry to break the mood here, but I have to call cop out. Look, I understand that Hayashi had really written himself into a corner here, because once we see what the actual content of the D-mail was in a second, you will see that there was literally no way to figure out what it was, save for changing the entire chapter and really pulling some weird logic out of his ass, or just suddenly having her miraculously remember. It's just too specific. Ultimately, I probably would have tried to make her D-mail something that it would be possible to figure out. In addition, I absolutely understand that people remembering alternate world lines becomes much more of a thing as the story goes on, but I don't think introducing the concept with someone being able to miraculously solve the plot with it is the best way to do it necessarily. Like I said, there was no way Okabe was ever really going to figure this out because Ferris's D-mail
was to save Papa, who died 10 years ago, Nya.
So in order to save Mayuri, they have to kill Ferris's father again. Okabe doesn't get a lot of time to think about this, however, as it is just then that the viral attackers find them. Luckily, a convenient call from Kurisu gives him an idea of how to get out of there. He tosses the contents of a nearby sack of flour into the air, and after running past them, he flicks on the light switch just as he and Ferris hightail it out of there. This causes the flour to explode like firecrackers? I've never heard of this, but I'm gonna trust that it's real and we're gonna move on. Unfortunately, they only make it a little farther before they're cornered by the gang, and of course, by 4°C himself. He threatens to kick the shit out of Ferris.
If you take another step, the power in my right arm will break free.
Always at the front line of the scene stands one man. That one man is the peacock flapping its black wings.
Gah! Calm down, right arm of mine. No, the seal is coming undone.
I'll elegantly floor you with my crazy dance.
They go on like this for a little while before the viral attackers call Okabe a chuny case and 4°C just decides to knee him in the head.
I told you, man. The coldest ice burns.
That's frostbite, you idiot.
Needless to say, Okabe gets the absolute shit kicked out of him. They're only saved by the timely arrival of a goddamn limousine with Ferris's dad throwing open a door for them in the back. So, the whole way back to Ferris's apartment, Okabe gets to rest his broken and bruised body on a lap pillow, courtesy of Ferris Nyan Nyan. Ferris's dad thanks him for protecting his daughter.
Protecting? I wasn't able to do anything against those guys. I was pathetic.
But Ferris's dad insists that he did a good job. Okabe ends up having dinner and getting to stay the night at their place, and he learns that, of course, Ferris and her father have a wonderful relationship, and he's a really cool guy. You know, just to rub it in. At dinner, he manages to ask about the IBN 5100, and as it turns out, here's the whole deal. Ferris's father originally acquired the IBN from a woman named Hashida Suzu. Several years ago, Ferris actually got kidnapped. Her father's company was not as big as it was, but the kidnapper's ransom was an insane price. Out of nowhere, a French businessman appeared offering to buy the IBN for just the price he needed to pay the ransom. And so, the implication is that since Ferris's dad is alive, the IBN is now in SERN's hands and has been for years. Later on, Okabe is trying to sleep in the bedroom that Ferris's dad provided to him, but is, quite obviously, failing. I mean, who can sleep in an unfamiliar bed, especially in someone else's house? Am I right? No, that's just me? All right, well, fuck you then.
Kyoma? May I come in?
Something is immediately wrong. Ferris is not saying her usual nyas, and she's not even wearing her cat ears. She thanks him again for saving her earlier.
That was the first time I ever felt such a black emotion from a huge crowd of people.
Those guys were obsessed with black.
Okabe, that was dumb, and you know it. Anyway, Ferris, or should I be calling her Rumiho? Rumiho calls Okabe her prince and wraps her arms around him.
Hey, I think it's time to end this. You went back in time and risked your life to save me. So, I want to grant your wish too.
Okabe obviously wants to protest, but doesn't get a chance because Rumiho starts telling him what happened on the day that led to his death. Rumiho was 8 years old, and her birthday present was that her father would take a day off of work and spend it with her. But something came up and he had to break his promise, which caused Rumiho to run away, thinking he didn't love her. The plane he was on at the time made a bad landing, unfortunately killing him.
I hate you, Papa. You should just die. Those were the last words I ever said to him.
But of course, now she knows. Now she knows how much her father loved her, and she's had the time to not make that their final moments together. She agrees to save Mayuri.
Hey, is it okay if I cry a little? Before we change things back, is it okay if I cry for Papa?
She sobs into Okabe's chest as he holds her, and they stay like that for the rest of the night. The next day, Farah says goodbye to her father, even if he doesn't know it's goodbye, and finally tells Okabe the contents of her original D-mail.
100 mil for your kid. Take the train.
This one little email caused everything to change so much, and now she's going to change it back.
JK on ransom. I love you, Papa. See you soon.
Varys asks Okabe if she'll remember this world line once they change it back, and he tells her that of course she will.
You know, like a liar.
And now it is, of course, time to send the D-mail. We're doing it. Okabe isn't doing it. All right, then. Let's see what Ferris's ending has to offer. They sit down at a cafe, and Okabe explains that he's going to try to send a different sort of D-mail in order for them to both get what they want. A world line where Okabe has the IBN and Ferris's father is alive.
I know that you're trying to save Papa, Nyan. And I'm really grateful for that, Nyan. I think I'm falling in love with you, Nya.
Ooh, damn, she really just dropped the L word, huh?
Lesbian?
They head back to the lab and send a different D-mail, though we never get to see what it actually is. But they send it, the world warps, and Okabe finds himself in the midst of Akiba, right in front of Animate. Wait, the Moe store? He breaks to the Tennouji residence to check on the divergence meter and, oh yeah, that really can't be good. Anyway, Naya catches him in the act, but mysteriously doesn't seem to know who he is. Furthermore, every single contact but Ferris has vanished from his phone. This world line seems very different. Even heading back to the lab, the second floor is empty. There's no lab, which means there's no time machine and no way back. Luckily, May Queen plus Nyan Nyan is here, and Mayuri and Ferris are both still working there.
Ferris. Mayuri. Thank God.
No, Master. It's Mayushi Nyan Nyan. You're Ferris-chan's dual partner, aren't you? Ferris-chan, did you tell him Mayushi's real name?
Uh-oh. Oh, no, this really isn't good. Mayuri and Okabe aren't childhood friends on this world line. They don't even really know each other.
Thanks for coming, Nya. But please don't act like my boyfriend in front of the customers, Nya.
Come on, Ferris-chan. You can't flirt with him here.
Okabe asks Mayuri if she remembers Kurisu and Daru, and of course, she doesn't. He wanders away from that conversation and finds Daru sitting in the cafe. Okabe sits down across from him. Finally, some normalcy.
Hey! What's your relationship to Ferris-tan? I've seen you somewhere before. Where was it? Anyway, you're being too familiar with Ferris-tan. Are you a filthy normie? You are, aren't you?
Daru questions him, but Okabe is too confused to answer until he just asks his name. He says Hoin Kyoma out of habit, and Daru immediately changes his tune.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, now I remember. I was sure I'd seen you somewhere before. You're Ferris-tan's dual partner, Hoin-shi. Wow, I feel like an idiot.
Meanwhile, Okabe's world is falling apart around him.
The pieces are starting to fall into place. The lab is gone. Mayuri and Daru don't know me. We haven't met. We're not friends. We're nothing. All the time we spent together is gone. Every moment, every memory. Is this the price I have to pay?
Okabe also asks Daru about Kurisu, but to him she's just someone who gave a lecture at ATF a couple of weeks ago. Later on, Okabe asks Ferris if her dad is still alive, and of course he is, but she is very confused. Okabe tells her that he has amnesia, which is essentially correct, and though she thinks he's doing a Kyoma bit at first, he quickly convinces her that he is totes for reals. So she explains who she is in this world line.
Ferris and Kyoma met at a Rhinet tournament, yeah? It was at a small shop in Akiba, but as our life and death struggle unfolded, we understood each other's hearts, yeah? And then we hit it off, and Ferris and Kyoma became partners, yeah?
In Rhinet. Obviously, the couple thing came later. They recently just became a thing when Ferris confessed her feelings after their last semifinal, and they shared a romantic kiss. Also, apparently right now Okabe is staying at Ferris's place for the summer while they prep for the Rhinet championship. Ferris wants Okabe to remember, but of course that's impossible. He asks her one favor, if she can keep an eye on Mayuri until 8 p.m. tonight. Reluctantly, she agrees. So Ferris goes out to karaoke with Mayuri, and Okabe waits at her place. But Mayuri is totally fine. Ferris gets back and reports that they had a wonderful evening. Thus, Okabe collapses, laying back on the sofa and closing his eyes.
I have plenty of time to think about the future. After all, I have nothing left to fear.
Later, Ferris is trying to reteach Okabe how to play Rhinet, but it's a bit of a frustrating endeavor.
I didn't think you'd be this poopy, nya.
Ferris wonders that if since he doesn't have any memories, he doesn't love her anymore, and so she tries to molest him to make him remember, even though by her own confession earlier they haven't done anything yet. They actually almost do something sexy to the point where Okabe is preemptively mourning his virginity, but then Ferris starts sniffing.
You not remembering hurts so much, nya? The person I knew became someone I don't know. It hurts so much. I wish I'd lost my memories too, nya?
Okabe is pretty upset as well. Nobody remembers him anymore, and he's got no way back. All he has is Ferris.
But this is my choice. I don't remember falling in love, but I'm glad that we did. You're the only person who knows me here, Ferris. As long as we're together, everything will be fine. I hope you'll stay with me, even now. I probably won't get my memories back, but I want to fall in love with you all over again.
Man, it sucks that I have to write down lines like this to get Dragon to sound this romantic. Anyway, Rumiko asks him to take off her cat ears. They kiss and go on to play in that championship. Together. It's super sweet and a bit sad. I like this ending. It plays with another trope of time travel, obviously. The messed it up too much and now you can't go back trope. But I like that they played it very sweetly for once. Usually this trope is played for drama and sometimes horror, but here it's a somewhat cold but peaceful world. It's also interesting that, as we'll see, some of the love interests get confirmed romantic interactions with Okabe, like Ferris here, and some don't, like Suzuha. There can be that implication at the end of her ending, but they never kiss or confirm it or anything like that. And I really like that about this story. Unlike a lot of its contemporaries, Steins Gate doesn't seem to feel pressured to make sure that each girl has a romantic subplot. It trusts that its audience can get its rocks off without needing to hook Okabe up with all of them. 'Cause trust me, they certainly do. But alright, we've dallied in this ending enough. Let's go back and once again make sure that Okabe sends that first D-mail. Okabe finds himself in the lab's development room, seemingly having teleported there from Ferris's apartment. She asks if he has her phone, and he does, giving it back to her.
Kyoma, did you see what was inside, nya? If you did see it, then please forget about it, nya. Can't let the cat out of the bag, nya? Or else they will awaken, nya? Come on, Kyoma. You're supposed to say something, nya? Like, who the hell are they, or something, nya?
I'm sorry.
Ferris desperately wanted to remember the old timeline, but it looks like that's not going to happen. Her memories of seeing her father again are entirely gone. He hugs her tightly and repeats his sentiment to her.
What happens to that world line? I don't know. Maybe, like Suzuha said, it still exists as another possible world line, or maybe it ceased to exist the moment I sent the D-mail. But one thing is clear. I can never return to that world line again. Ferris can never see her father again.
Ferris came over to see a costume Mayuri made, as it turns out, but now she has to go to work. Okabe sees her off and then begins the trek over to Yanabayashi Shrine. He's really not wasting time this go-around, holy moly. On his way, he notices that Akiba, his Akiba, is back. All the moe shops and maid cafes, it's all just as he remembers it.
On the way, I noticed that the satellite is missing from Radikan's rooftop. Of course it is. Suzu has gone. The thought brings a new pang of grief into my heart. Before this is over, how much more pain will I shoulder?
I'm making a point. I'm making a very important point, and I'm almost at the point where I can talk about it, but for now we're moving on. Now that the world line has shifted again, Okabe wants to know whether the IBN is now at Yanabayashi as it should be.
Yes, who is? Okabe-san.
He asks about the computer and notices that for some reason, Luka's face pales at the mention, but she goes to get her father and he says that, well, yes, they should have an old computer that was donated about 10 years ago. But when he goes to check if it's there, he simply can't find it. That's weird. Her father asks Luka if she knows where it is, but she denies it again. She's clearly lying, however, and not very good at it. Of course, this time around, Okabe knows what Luka's D-mail was, but how could being a girl change the location of the IBN? In the meantime, Okabe breaks into Tennouji's house again to check on the divergence meter, and it seems that deleting Ferris's D-mail made the number go up by about 0.05%. Radical. Okabe returns to the lab, notes that if the pattern of Mayuri's death being delayed by 24 hours continues, that she'll die tomorrow. He time leaps immediately. So now he's bought himself a little more time to cancel Luka's D-mail. There's also a version of this scene where you don't time leap immediately and watch Mayuri die again, but I don't know how you get the different versions, so I don't know which I'll have footage for. The big problem with erasing Luka's D-mail is that he needs to get Luka herself on board because he obviously would never remember what her mother's pager is after only seeing it once. But the last time he tried to bring up Luka's gender, the whole thing ended with Luka in tears. So he does the sensible thing and asks Kurisu for help again. Of course, man can't do anything himself. Mayuri's life is tied to Urushibara-san's gender. That's so crazy it doesn't seem real at all. She asks about the pager, and there's really no good excuse why Okabe would need Luka's mother's old pager number. Okabe wonders if she should just tell her the truth after all. A mad scientist? Sincere? That's a good one. It's more like you to say, I'll brainwash her! Wah-ha-ha-ha-ha!
I will shoulder Lukako's pain. That's my responsibility. When I cancel that D-mail, the fact that she was a girl will be undone. I'm the only one who can carry that burden.
So he decides just to be straightforward. So he goes back to Luka and tells her that she used to be a guy.
You're saying that again?
Listen, unless you turn back into a guy, Mayuri will die.
This is more role-playing, right? You're being Kyoma-san, right? Please tell me you're joking, Okabe-san. I've always been a girl, ever since I was born. This is cruel. And why do I have to hear it from you, of all people?
But Okabe's like, hey, what's the big deal? You've always been a man to me anyway.
So that's how you think of me.
And she runs away. Well, that went just about how well I expected it to. Way to fucking go, Okabe, you dense motherfucker. So he runs back to Kurisu and she tells him the obvious, that Luka has a big crush on him and it broke her little heart to hear that Okabe thinks of her as a man. Of course, they have to undo this D-mail. Since deleting the previous two made the divergence meter go up, obviously getting rid of all the D-mails that activated reading Steiner should bring back the IBN. This means we still need to get rid of Luka's and Moeka's. Okabe is not looking forward to that one, but we'll deal with that later. For now, the problem with Luka. Kurisu tells him that he should simply go out with her. If there's nobody else you like, then there's no reason not to, is there? Get close and help her work through her feelings. Then she'll probably tell you what you need to know. Kurisu also suggests that he could potentially just take the info by force, but he immediately rejects this idea. He's too good of a guy for it, and that's honestly very in character for him. The next day, Mayuri bursts into the lab, very upset that Okabe hurt Luka's feelings. She's worried that something is wrong, but Okabe brushes her off. He simply can't tell her. Instead, he says he's going to Luka's to apologize, but tells her that she can't come with him, and she finally accepts this. He confronts Luka and makes sure that she didn't tell Mayuri about her dying, and of course she didn't. Unfortunately, this conversation does not go very well, or rather, it does not go at all for a couple of minutes, as Luka is just a really awkward person, and Okabe doesn't know how to talk to her now that she's a girl. Dumbass. Anyway, Luka says that she believes him, but in exchange for her help reversing the timeline, she wants something in return.
For today and tomorrow, we can stop before Mayuri-chan is in danger. So, please be my boyfriend.
Okabe has to calculate this for a little while. Obviously, a major theme that we'll see running through this chapter is Okabe trying to reconcile the fact of dating this girl while still viewing her as a man, and he is just simply not gay. This is a bold direction for this chapter to go in, and most other Japanese, and a lot of Western media for that matter, would shy away from just confronting this issue so strongly. And this may be a slightly controversial take, and I'm obviously cisgendered, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think they don't do a bad job of handling it. From here on out, Luka's gender isn't really the butt of any jokes. Her feelings for Okabe are taken seriously, both as a woman and as a man, and quite a bit of poignancy is wrung from the fact that Okabe will never truly be able to return her feelings, at least in the main timeline. I don't know, I think it's just pretty admirable that a piece of media is confronting an issue like this in such a straightforward way that never once demonizes Luka for her gender. In fact, the story more frequently shits on Okabe for being a fucking weirdo about it and makes the whole conflict rather compelling. Anyway, Okabe makes up some excuse about thinking about the whole dating her thing, and then flees like the little bitch he is. He literally flees several days into the past, explains the situation to Kurisu again, and then has her come with him to the shrine. This time, he wants Kurisu to tell her that she's a guy, but she just goes off about brain science and asks Luke if she can experiment on her brain. So Okabe kicks her out and just does it himself. He tells her she's a guy again, she cries again, the next morning Mayuri gets mad at him again, so he goes back to the shrine, the exact same scenario happens, but this time he has to date Luka for 4 days instead of just 2. Way to go, coward!
Okabe-san, tomorrow, please take me on a date.
What did you say?
You know, a date? That thing that people who are dating do? Okabe, you're a fucking numbskull. He promises he'll come up with something by tomorrow and once again flees. Kurisu is still watching from a distance and seems kind of irritated about something. I wonder what it could be. Anyway, they realize that they both have zero experience with this whole dating thing, so the next scene finds them at May Queen plus Nyan Nyan reading an old dating manual. On the first date, conversation tends to break due to mutual nervousness. What's important is to play conversation catch. Responsiveness gives the girl the impression that you're really listening to her. Basically, you need to be the opposite of yourself. There's a bunch of other rules he's supposed to follow, like carrying a clean handkerchief to set down on a park bench when she sits. Something tells me this dating manual is really old. Ultimately, Okabe really just needs to focus on being normal, which will in itself be a challenge for him. But they do learn that apparently just walking around town counts as a date, so that ends up being Okabe's plan. At first, it doesn't really go well. Neither of them are super good at holding up a conversation. Finally, Luka breaks the awkwardness.
Okabe-san, do you remember about the first time you and I met?
Flashback time! Some gross pervs with cameras thought that Luka was A, woman, and B, cosplaying as a shrine maiden, and were harassing the shit out of her, him at the time in Okabe's memories. Okabe came in with his Hoenn Kyoma thing and weirded them out, and then Luka revealed that he was actually a guy, finally caused him to leave for good.
Thank you very much, but you're disappointed that you saved a guy, aren't you?
It matters not. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. We need to work on that inferiority complex of yours. Come with me. I shall bestow onto you a mighty gift, an item that will give you courage. I'm sure you too have noticed the true power that sleeps inside of you.
Immediately after that, they went to Bladeworks and bought Samadare.
I was really surprised when you said it didn't matter, but at the same time, it really made me happy. Ever since you said those words, I've liked you.
Okabe is kind of freaking out a little bit now because that means that Luka as a guy liked him too. Anyway, Okabe takes Luka back to the shrine and she makes him promise he'll take her out again tomorrow, and he is not happy about it.
Tuturu! Welcome back, Arin!
Die, you filthy normie.
Okabe returns to the lab, gets bitched at by Daru for having a girlfriend, and begged by Mayuri to persuade Luka to go to Kamima. Okabe confesses that he really doesn't get this whole dating thing.
Okarin, you idiot! Those words are an insult to virgins the world over. Apologize! Apologize to the virgins!
Changing the subject, Mayuri asks about when Luka first started to like Okabe, and thinking back on it, hold on. Luka said she started to like him specifically when he said her gender didn't matter. Huh. But since Ferris remembered, why not Luka too? The next morning, Okabe softball confronts her with this fact, but it makes her upset and she cancels that day's date. Okabe feels like a dickhole, but he's also kind of relieved. He doesn't head back to the lab yet, though, because he's trying to think this whole thing through. Like I've said before, I really like how genuine of a human being Okabe is under there. Most visual novel protagonists tend to be a little jerk with a heart of gold coated, but even if he's dense as a fucking brick, Okabe just is really a pretty good guy, all things considered. He even promises himself to try to do something tomorrow to end the relationship that won't make Luka sad. For once. So, the next day, Okabe does indeed take them to Kamima. He figures if they are not alone, then there's less social pressure on him to show her a good time, and I can absolutely understand that sentiment. That is a tactic I use all the time. Just not in romantic situations. What the fuck are you thinking? They meet up with Mayuri, spend the day winding through crowds, and it's okay, but Okabe gets the feeling that it's not really what Luka wanted. On the way back to the shrine, Okabe desperately tries to think of something to talk about, but the only things he and Luka have in common are their weird Chunibyo sword shit, and the dating manual told him not to talk about those things. Once they reach the shrine, Luka just starts sobbing, and Okabe has no idea what to do.
Thank you so much. I was really happy that we could be together. I'm glad I fell in love with you.
She presses a piece of paper into his hand and disappears back into the shrine.
She kept her promise, but I didn't keep mine. I can't let it end like this.
So he sprints back to the lab, intending on using his powers of bending time itself to his will in order to redo his shitty date again. But don't worry, he has a plan. Okabe finds himself with Luka at Akiba Station, but he decides that they're not going to Kamima. He takes Luka's hand and they go back to Yanabayashi Shrine. Of course, Luka thinks he's aborting the date, but that's not Okabe's plan.
What are you talking about? Our couple phase isn't over yet. Weren't you listening? This time we're doing things my way. Bring forth the demon sword, Samitare!
For a second, Luka is caught off guard. Okabe explains that amidst all the hubbub about gender and being a couple, they've both forgotten the true nature of their relationship.
I am I. Lukako is Lukako, and Lukako is my disciple.
Yes, of course. Kiyoma-san is my master.
So she runs to grab the sword, and they spend the afternoon practicing with Luka's shitty fake sword and having a really good time. Finally, after 4 hours, their date comes to an end.
I feel like it's been a long time since you last taught me, Kiyoma-san.
For the past few days, my mind has been under the influence of the foul grimoire known as the Manual. But I've fully recovered. Do not worry.
So, now that he's finally shown her a good time, it's time for Luka to confess some things. A, she remembers being a guy. At least, kinda. B, the IBN. Luka knows where it is. It's in a coin locker in an alleyway. Luka stashed it there because when she was cleaning the storehouse shrine, she broke it. Accidentally. Honestly, this one is really funny because Luka was a girl, she cleaned the storehouse, which she never did as a guy, meaning that the IBN got broken. Sexism for the win, which means there's no choice.
I have to go back to being a guy.
So they get back to the shrine, Luka retrieves her mother's pager number, and Okabe calls Kurisu up to get her to activate the phone wave, but before she does, Okabe gets interrupted. Luka is sobbing into his back.
I really don't want to change back. If I change back into a guy, I'll have to hide my feelings for you again. My memories of today will vanish too, won't they? That we held hands and walked together? I don't want to forget. I don't. Because I love you. I love you, Okabe-san.
She begs him to send the email now before she changes her mind, but of course he hesitates.
Will you remember me as a girl?
Yes.
Will you remember these 4 short days we were together?
Yes.
But of course, as we know by now, Okabe doesn't do it. He doesn't send the email, which will lead us directly into Luka's ending. Because in this ending, Okabe just decides to let Mayuri die. He meets her at Ariake, where she's been waiting for him alone. They talk for a while about him and Lukako, and they spend her last few minutes talking about Mayuri's cosplays and how she really still wants to get Luka to do it too. Daru shows up a few minutes later, but before they can go anywhere, Mayuri just collapses. No crazy accident, no nothing. She just dies. Daru screams that they should call an ambulance, but Okabe knows it's already too late.
I couldn't save you, Mayuri. No. I chose not to save you. I abandoned you, Mayuri. I looked up to the starry sky, just as Mayuri always did. The tears don't come. Maybe I've gotten used to it. Or maybe it's because I'm not worthy to mourn her. What fills my heart is emptiness.
3 days pass, and Okabe does nothing for all of them. He doesn't even go to Mayuri's funeral. Kurisu begs him to eat, and he kind of explains to her what happened. But there's one silver lining to all this. Mayuri is dead. It's sad. No, sad doesn't even begin to describe it. But Mayuri is gone. But she is still alive. Thanks to you, she's still alive as a girl. And I think she's suffering alone. Just like you. Aren't you the only one who can understand her suffering? You're her accomplice, remember? Okabe thanks Kurisu for shaking him out of his slump, and he follows her advice, heading to the shrine. Luka is there, and tells him about Mayuri's funeral.
Why, Okabe-san? Why are we still alive? Mayuri-chan is dead, but I'm still a girl. It just feels wrong for me to keep living like this.
It's not wrong.
Luka actually gets very agitated, demanding to know if there's a way to save Mayuri, but not if things stay the way they are.
You can't give up. Why are you giving up? Aren't you sad at all that Mayuri-chan died?
Do you think it was easy for me to give up? I tried to find a way. I tried everything I could think of, but nothing worked. The universe's sole wish is her death. No matter how I try to avoid it, fate snatches Mayuri away. But I can't do it anymore. There's nothing I can do.
But, of course, there is one way. Turning Luka back into a man. She yells at Okabe, begs him to send the D-mail. But he refuses. He's done. Besides, Okabe wants her to be happy. So they finally agree to bear the burden of killing Mayuri together.
This sadness, this guilt, I want us both to embrace them so we don't forget.
I understand. Let's bear our burden together. Let's live with these memories together.
Can I stay by your side forever?
Of course.
But there's one regret that Luka still has. That she never wore one of Mayuri's cosplays. She wants to go back and do it. She wants to use the timely machine. Okabe at first resists, but eventually relents. As soon as he starts up the machine, his world warps. So reading Steiner still works if other people time leap. Now he finds himself back at the shrine.
Want to see the pictures? Mayuri-chan was so happy.
I realize that I'm crying. In the picture, Mayuri's smiling, and we're smiling with her.
Okay, after that cry fest, it's time to take a little break for a moment. I've never done something like this in one of these videos before, so bear with me. I always struggle to find good places to actually put straightforward analysis or critique in these huge, dramatic videos because I'm afraid of breaking the tone too much. Usually I get around this by hiding my thoughts in the way I react to the plot beats, but that method definitely goes over some people's heads, and I've been teasing you about my true thoughts on Steins Gate's second half for a while now, so I figured I'd split all of that off into its own section so that if you happen to not give a shit and just want to see the rest of the story play out, you can skip ahead. For all the nerds, welcome to the slime pit of pedanticism where I pick apart a story that really doesn't deserve it. Now, I'm going to accomplish the visuals here a little differently because, surprise, my editing style tends to make these videos harder to make, and if I tried to do this like normal, this video would probably be delayed by another month. So, to that end, I have created a handy PowerPoint presentation to help illustrate my... That's, not the... Okay, we got it. Much better. There we go. Now that we're far enough into the story that I'm not going to spoil anything major, here's why I'm not really a huge fan of the second half of Steins Gate. Because Steins Gate is a story that is incredibly bisected. From the moment of Mayuri's death, the story becomes an entirely different one that has very little in common with the story we've been experiencing up until now. And I understand that this is on purpose. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about were in fact done on purpose, at least I have to presume, and the reasoning for most of them is very solid. Hayashi is a very smart writer who wants to do a lot of interesting things with the way he tells his stories. The problem primarily is that at the time he wrote Steins Gate, I don't think he quite had the level of writing ability yet to execute them properly. I have read works he's done since then, and the improvement on that front is dramatic, to say the least. Regardless, there are two main problems I have with the second half, and they both kind of contribute to the other in this bizarre, really dorky Ouroboros, so bear with me as I try to untangle them. The first of these problems is one that I talked about to some extent in the last video, and that's the fact that from the first half to the second half, expectations kind of get betrayed. And like I said in that first video, a good portion of this betrayal comes from fan praise, but an equally good portion of it comes from the story itself. Throughout the first half, we obviously know that at some point this story is probably going to change. However, with Okabe's weird dreams and the drilling into your head of scientific terms, which you will probably believe will be important, the story sets you up to experience this complicated cerebral sort of mindfuck. I'm sure by now you can see that this isn't the case. You spend chapter 6 in awe of what the story is going to become, and then you get to chapter 7, and then chapter 8, and you realize that there's a pattern to these chapters. Because 5 out of the 6 chapters in this half, barring the first half of chapter 6, go in the exact same way. Okabe has to get rid of another D-mail, but there's some sort of reason he can't just send it himself. So he goes to the girl in question to get the information he needs, and there is some sort of drama involved with the deleting of the D-mail. Eventually, the girl does agree to do it for Mayuri's sake, Okabe angsts about it, and we move on to the next chapter. We've only seen 3 of them so far, but the next 2 chapters play out in pretty much the exact same way as well, and I spent the whole of this time wondering, okay, when's the twist going to happen? The inevitable twist that complicates the fuck out of this plot, and then it just never did. My point here is not to say that anything is wrong with the plot of the second half. The actual goal of Steins Gate's story, it seems to me, was to use the concept of time travel to fuel a series of small, character-focused drama moments. And if this was indeed its goal, it pulled it off remarkably. No notes. Each of the chapters is very heart-wrenching in a very different, personal way to each character. The problem lies in the fact that A, this format is nothing like the first half at all, and B, this is not the story that I feel, at least, we were getting set up for. The first half is this pseudo-slice-of-life story about uncovering this vast globe-spanning conspiracy, and then with the exception maybe of the next chapter, SERN doesn't do anything in this story. It's no longer about them. In hindsight, it kind of feels like we wasted a lot of time doing all this digging into SERN and learning about the specifics of their time travel experiments because it never really ends up paying off. They just kind of become a two-dimensional force that sometimes kills Mayuri. They aren't really even the main villains anymore. The universe, or whatever force is killing Mayuri, is now. Now, there could have been ways to bridge this gap. There could have easily been methods that Hayashi could have used to make this transition seem more natural and bisect the narrative a lot less. Again, I think his intention was to shock us with the change, and I think the Mayuri repeated death sequence doesn't need altering, but once we're well into Suzuha's segment, it could have been very easy to pull back and give us something that resembled the first half a little more in order to ease us into this new tone. And Hayashi does attempt to do this a bit. The second half of chapter 6 is the one that most resembles the first half of the story, just with a few differences that make it slip on its ass in the transition department. One is that the mystery the gang is trying to solve is simply not interesting. We have gone from hacking into an international organization that is discovering the secrets of time travel to hunting for the origin of a pin. There's no evolution that this mystery can take besides either we never found the pin or we did, and the final answer to the mystery isn't even discovered by our investigation. It's simply told to us by Mayuri in the final hour, which makes it feel like we spent a lot of time this chapter spinning our wheels for an answer that I think a good half of the audience already probably came to. I know I did. The second problem with this chapter is also my second big problem with the narrative in general, and that's Okabe. The first half of Steins Gate established Okabe Rintaro as one of the more unique protagonists in the medium, mostly due to his Chunibyo character Holween Kyoma. Yet in this first half, it is also established that Okabe is more than Kyoma, that he uses the persona to cope with both social situations and his own internal dilemmas. The mask is given depth by the fact that we get to explore why it's being used in the first place in such subtle ways. The problem is that as soon as Chapter 6 starts, the Hoenn Kyoma persona is completely discarded, and though it makes brief appearances here and there, it never really fully comes back. This fundamental part of Okabe has been stripped away without any sort of transition. The idea here that Hayashi seems to be trying to convey is that the Hoenn personality was never really that deeply ingrained in him, that he'd never really needed it in the first place. Or, alternatively, that this situation is so fucked up that Okabe has forgotten about it in the chaos. However, this is directly contradicted by so much of the first half of the game. I literally pointed out a lot of moments where Okabe uses the Kyoma personality as this massive social crutch as a way to cope with both himself and the people around him, and for him to suddenly just be able to discard it permanently seems really disconnected from these previous ideas. In fact, it always seems to me like Hayashi doesn't really know what he's trying to say with all this. Sometimes the narrative of the story makes it feel like the ultimate lesson Okabe needs to learn is that he needs to be himself, and sometimes it feels like the lesson is that Kyoma is a fundamental part of him that he needs to let out. Sometimes there seems to be no lesson at all, and the discarding of the Kyoma personality is viewed as more of a narrative tool, a man, if Okabe is being normal, then this situation is so fucked up / heartbreaking. Ultimately, I think this was the goal. But the problem is that it never really does its job because there's no transition point. There's no moment in the story when you suddenly realize, holy shit, where did Kyoma go? Because he's just simply gone the instant Chapter 6 starts. It makes total sense for him to disappear in his moment of panic for Mayuri. I'm not saying that needs to change. But again, the slowdown of the second half seems designed to facilitate the proper transition of tones and then just doesn't. Hoenn Kyoma is not a character in Chapter 6. Even when things calm down and we return to that more investigative mode from the first half, Okabe is still just Okabe. I feel it would have been much better and make more sense with the already in place narrative if Okabe was to immediately fall back on Kyoma as the ultimate crutch for the tough position he's found himself in, like he repeatedly does in the first half. Slowly, over the course of watching the lives of Suzuha and Ferris and Luka get fucked up, that side of his personality could assert less dominance. The next upcoming chapter is highly depressing already, and that would be the perfect spot for us as the audience to have a moment of realization. A moment where we realize that this shit has really gotten bad now because wow, we really haven't seen him do a crazy mad scientist thing in a while, huh? But we don't get that. Because again, he's just simply gone as soon as the second half starts, making that transition all the more jarring. And what we're left with is just Okabe. Again, Okabe himself was just made an entirely normal college student on purpose. This choice was made specifically to contrast with the bombastic personality of Hoenn Kyoma, an attempt to facilitate the audience response of, oh shit, this is serious now. Now, there are different schools of thought on how far a writer can take a narrative out of enjoyment territory to prove a point. Some people think you can make an absolutely miserable reading experience if it makes its point well. Some people think that writing is purely entertainment and the audience should never have to struggle with the material. I fall somewhere in the middle, and most of these techniques that writers use to jerk an audience around, I process on a case-by-case basis. Even in my own work, my stories are known for their propensity of jerking my audience around. But there have been moments where I've wanted to do something that I know will make my stories harder to get through, but will truly make a point, and then I decide not to include them because I think they'll make the story boring or irritating to read. Sometimes making a story worse is a very effective technique to make a point, and sometimes it just fucking makes the story worse. This, I believe, is unfortunately one of those cases. Like I said, Okabe is a boring character on purpose, but the problem is that since he's a boring character, the story becomes a lot more boring to read. The impact on this lack of depth in Okabe Rintaro is lessened in both the anime, which features very little internal monologue from our main character, and in this video, where I often cut out a lot of the lengthy bullshit that visual novels are known for to get to the point. That's why I specifically pointed out I was doing that earlier in the video. Because we are stuck in Okabe's head for this entire narrative, and after the exit of Kyoma, he really doesn't have much going on in there. It's really boring to be stuck in his head. Because Okabe Rintaro does not have very many interesting thoughts. And by that, I mean he thinks about this situation pretty much exactly as any normal person would. So there's an endless monologue of angst about this situation that does not evolve over the course of the narrative. It just gets more pronounced. It is incredibly exhausting to read the exact same sentiment, but worse this time, over and over again as the loss of girl memories piles up. Again, you're just gonna have to kind of take my word on this, or maybe go read the original yourself to find out, because it's really hard to get across this point in my format without actively also making this video a slog to get through, and I am not going to make the same mistake that Hayashi did. But Okabe's narration in this half of the story gets really repetitive really quickly. And this was the one thing that could have made the second half simple plot more interesting. If it had been in a more Kyoma-like manner that Okabe had gone through Suzuha and Ferris's plots, perhaps before it starts to fall off in Luka's, it would have broken up the repetition significantly and given us a really gut-punch moment on top of that. But because the transition between Kyoma and Okabe is so sudden, the narrative of the second half feels even more out of step than the first half, feeling like an even more different story, not helping with our already kind of betrayed expectations, and now you can see exactly what I was talking about. And that's it, really. I hope I talked enough about the potential solutions I can see to Steins Gate's problems. I think the reason why this story irks me so much is the fact that it would be so easy to fix. Or if not completely fix, then at least ease out of the problems a little more. It is incredibly irritating to me, and that's why I spent like 4 pages of my script just talking about it. Anyway, let's get back to the plot, because just like all the science jargon in the first half of the game, you can now disregard everything I just said because the plot's about to get really good again. Okabe is still at the shrine, even though the world line clearly changed. He asks Luka if he's a guy, and he of course responds with yes. It looks like the demo worked. So how about the IBN? Luka has no memories of breaking an old computer, so they summon his father to see about it. Yep, it looks like it should be here, but alas, no dice again. It looks like a thief broke into the storehouse and took it. And I wonder who that could be. There are, of course, only 2 more D-mails to change. The Lotto 6 ticket number, which probably doesn't have much to do with anything, and, of course, Moeka's.
Kiryu Moeka does not deserve my sympathy. That woman and her men have killed Mayuri more times than I can bear to remember. I will show her no mercy.
Holy shit, my guy, just chill. 'Cause there's one problem. Moeka sent her D-mail from her own phone, and she's unlikely to trust the advice of anyone else, which means he needs her actual, physical phone. He runs back to the lab, only to witness, instead of Mayuri's horrible death, a silly conversation she and Kurisu have about convincing the latter to cosplay at Kamima. Mayuri has to get an early night for the last day of the convention tomorrow, and Okabe once again pulls Kurisu aside and explains the situation. Again. This time he asks Kurisu to go to Kamima with Mayuri tomorrow so that she can confirm Mayuri's death for him. She agrees, and that's one thing taken care of at least. In the meantime, Okabe has to somehow track down Moeka. He sent her a text, but she hasn't responded, and it doesn't look like she's going to. So first he heads down to her place of work, Arc Rewrite. As it turns out, no one with the name Kiryu Moeka works there at all. Oh! Wait, there was some lady who worked there just 2 days before ghosting. Man, I swear, kids these days just have no work ethic, huh? Looks like they've still got her resume though, which just so happens to have the address to her apartment. It's a pretty grungy place. There's a police car out front and a blue sheet covering her door. Oh. Okabe approaches the police officer and asks what happened to the woman in that apartment. Seems like she offed herself. Just yesterday, in fact. Her body's at the hospital, and there's no family to speak of to identify her. As you might have noticed, every time Mayuri's death gets pushed back, Moeka's raid does as well. Until it didn't. In Luka's chapter, Mayuri isn't even pursued by the Rounders. She just dies suddenly after Kamima, and in this timeline, it seems like Moeka's been dead for 3 days. But this still doesn't mean that Mayuri's safe.
Whenever I try to stop it, something interferes. My heart can't take it anymore. I don't know how much longer I can go on. There's only one more. Just one more D-mail to cancel.
Yeah, now that I've pointed it out, you're starting to notice the really dramatic inks now too, aren't you? You're welcome! So Okabe treks back to the lab again to use the time loop machine, only to see electrical discharge. Is someone else using it? But when he gets back upstairs, the time loop machine is warm, but no one's there. Okabe kind of just shrugs this off, no time to worry about it now, and time leaps again. Once again, you can delay and see Mayuri die. Again, but like, come on now, let's get on with it. He's back about 2 days ago, before she died, and heads to her apartment again.
Honestly, I'm afraid to meet her face to face. I don't know what I might do. If I see Moeka, will I be able to contain my rage?
Bro's about to let the fucking wolf out. Oh my god. He knocks on Moeka's door. The lights are off, but the door's unlocked. Even knowing this could be a trap, he opens it and enters anyway. Beyond, the room is almost empty. There's almost nothing there, except for a woman sitting on the floor in front of the window.
FB? Is it you?
FB?
Why won't you contact me? I did everything you told me to. Did I do something wrong? I'll fix it, I promise. Just don't abandon me. I'll do anything for you, FB. Please answer me. Give me orders, I'll obey. Tell me what to do. Tell me. Tell me.
She's clutching her phone desperately. Of course, we've heard this word before, all the way back when we let her have a look at the phone wave. She asked if we were FB. Okabe approaches her, but it doesn't even seem like she's hearing him. Even when he shakes her, she doesn't respond. All she can do is type rapidly on her phone. So, clearly, whoever FB is, they've gone no contact. Okabe tries to grab her phone from her, considering she's catatonic, but she must not be too far gone because she slaps his hand away as soon as he tries. He tries every other method he can think of besides just taking it from her. He doesn't know where her gun is at the moment, after all, when he's interrupted by a phone call.
Where are you? Is it a woman? You're with a woman, aren't you?
Is that the first thing that comes to mind? You really are a mainstream girl.
Shut up. You promised you'd help with the phone wave, remember? Or is your lab mem number just for show?
Obviously, he can't help right now, and once again, he explains the situation.
You have to take it from her by force. You're up against an agent of SERN. Don't hesitate. Remember, you're doing this to save Mayuri. You might think I'm a monster for saying this. Not that I care what you think, but kill her if you have to.
She explains that if Mayuri's death is set in stone, that since Moeka dies by suicide in 4 days from now, she's essentially already dead. Of course, ideally he doesn't have to kill her, but if he does, he can simply get the information he needs about her D-mail and then undo her death by using the time loop machine. He goes back into the apartment and attempts to grab the phone from her, but she puts up a hell of a fight. After hesitating briefly, he puts a hand around her throat and squeezes.
Now, I have your attention. Give me your phone. If you don't, I'll kill you.
Still, it doesn't look like she's going to give it up. He's forced to guillotine choke her with his arm against the wall and enduring a fucking headbutt before he's able to wrestle it away from her. Still, even after being nearly choked out, she's still coming for the phone. Okabe runs outside and leans his body weight against the door so she can't open it. He calls Kurisu back, gets her to set up a D-mail, and enters the text.
Model change, do it now, before sold out.
If you'll recall, Moeka's D-mail was to warn herself not to change her phone model. All he has to do now is send it, but when he does so, nothing happens. So he tries 2 more times with different wording. Still, nothing. Moeka's been awfully quiet for a minute now, and it's starting to worry him. Mr. Braun's freaking out on their end too. But wait a minute. When he actually takes a look at her phone, something's wrong. It's the same model she had when she sent her D-mail. It hasn't changed. So either that D-mail made something else happen, or...
She lied to me. Moeka's D-mail wasn't about her phone. That sneaky little...
The door starts shaking again, much more violently than before. Looks like she's using some sort of fucking battering ram. iPad kids when you take their phones away, am I right? Kurisu, who is still on the line, suggests checking her mail history, as the original D-mail should still be there, but Moeka sends literally hundreds of messages a day. It's time for Plan B. Okabe wrenches open the door and steps aside just in time for a coffee table to fly past his head. Okabe! Give it back! He charges at Moeka, and Okabe uses his momentum to push her down to the floor. He pins her by one of her wrists, but with the other hand she punches him in the face and grabs his hair. He headbutts her, and that gives him just enough time to fully solidify his position on top of her.
That hurt, you crazy bitch!
She spits on him, but both of his hands are occupied so he can't wipe it off.
Eye contact. Good. We're making progress.
Give it back!
Come and get it! I can keep this up as long as I have to. Who's gonna tire out first? I don't care about your phone issues. I don't care about FB. You don't kill her on this world line, and the world lines where you did have already been erased. But I remember. I'll never forget that you killed Mayuri, and I'll never forgive you. So there's no escape for you today. We're gonna stay here as long as it takes.
Moeka screeches at him to give it back, and when he doesn't, she starts screaming rape. The neighbor next door comes to check to see if everything is all right, but Okabe kisses her to shut her up, and the neighbor goes away. Guess this really is a shitty part of town. She bites his lip after this, and he lets go, but she doesn't scream anymore. They stay like that for over an hour, and for that time, Moeka doesn't say a word. Just when Okabe is wondering if he might actually be the one to call Uncle first, Moeka speaks.
Okabe-kun. What do I have to do?
He asks her if she remembers the D-mail and what she actually sent to herself, but she doesn't remember. Okabe continues to stare down at her.
Normally, Moeka could be mistaken for an elegant, beautiful woman, but now she has large shadows under her eyes. Her skin is rough, her face is pale. She looks more intoxicated than intoxicating. Her entire body reeks of death.
Okabe tries to change the question. He instead asks her about the message she received 2 weeks ago and what it said.
And if I tell you?
I'll return your phone.
Fuck you. I won't tell you. It's my mission.
Of course, Okabe guesses correctly that the mail was about the IBN. Moeka doesn't say, but she's looking like she's already getting phone withdrawal. He asks her about it, why she's so dependent on her phone.
I can't talk to people. If I can't use mail, then I'll be cut off from the world.
And by the world, she of course means FB. Okabe asks her again who the hell this FB person is, but Moeka again refuses to say.
Then let me tell you something. Nobody's coming to save you. The pain and despair are just gonna get worse, and in 4 days you'll kill yourself. You kill yourself in this room, all alone. Your boss hasn't replied to your mails, has he? You know why? Because you've been abandoned.
Okabe feels terrible about the things he's saying and berates himself for feeling so bad for someone who is his enemy. Moeka tries to fight this fate, claiming that it could be Okabe that kills her and makes it look like a suicide. But he has a time machine, so why would he need to do that? He asks her how many days it's been since FB messaged.
It used to be every day, but it's already been 10 days.
Okabe tells her to forget about FB, that he clearly betrayed her, but Moeka insists otherwise.
FB isn't like that. She was gentle to me, like a mother.
And so we learn that FB is a woman. Apparently this woman always comforted Moeka, always gave her strength, told her she was worth something, though she's never actually met her. Okabe insists again that she was just using Moeka, saying whatever she wanted to hear. To prove his point, Okabe asks what the last mail she received from her was.
Leave the IBN 5100 at the designated location.
Ah, and now this all makes sense. Moeka had the IBN in this timeline. Moeka was the one who broke into the shrine. She bombarded Okabe with questions about it, he told her he found it at the shrine, and then she sent a D-mail to herself in the past telling her where it was. Okabe asks her where the designated location was, and she tells him that it was a coin locker. Moeka sobs, feeling like she's betrayed FB, but as information obtained, Okabe rolls off of her and lets her go. That was one of the most intense and highly detailed scenes of human struggle I've ever seen in my life. I definitely wasn't able to do it justice, but we dubbed this one, so please go watch it, because holy shit. When I say Hayashi is a fantastic scene writer, this is exactly what I meant. The drama, the conflict, the way the scene is written to imply sexual violence but never actually sinks down into it for real is just mwah, chef's kiss. Okabe hits a new low in this scene. He has to become almost an entirely different, darker person to do this to someone else. He only really questions himself once. This was Hayashi's attempt to do that oh shit moment I spoke of earlier, and it works really well. Again, could have worked better if contrasted more strongly with Kyoma than normal old Okabe, but still, very well done. I love this scene so much. He tells Moeka he's using her phone, and she doesn't fight him. After a few minutes, he finds the D-mail, and indeed, it does tell Moeka the location of the IBN. Then he calls Kurisu.
Okabe? Oh, don't worry me like that, idiot. I mean, you set off an obvious death flag. I'm surprised you're still alive.
She's standing by the lab still, and he tells her that they're sending one more D-mail. Mission accomplished, right? Not quite. Even if he finally knows what the D-mail actually said, sending another one still doesn't change the timeline. Why not? As always, Kurisu has a hypothesis. You can't control what the person who receives the mail does on the other end, after all. Moeka probably saw the mail but decided to still act on the original advice regardless. She was desperate to find the IBN, after all. So it looks like they're at an impasse. How can they get her to leave the shrine alone? What can they say? Suddenly, Okabe gets a flash of inspiration. Maybe it's not what they say, but who says it. If they can somehow get their hands on FB's phone, she will absolutely listen. There's one problem. They have no idea who FB even is. But Okabe is about to do what an Okabe does best. Walk around Akihabara until he just so happens to run into the thing he was trying to find. Nah, I'm kidding. But he is going to try to find FB now. To that end, he questions Moeka, asking her how exactly she became around her.
4 years ago, I tried to kill myself. I had no hope. I wanted to get away from everything.
But even though she OD'd on sleeping pills, she still failed her attempt. After that, she got an email that said they were recruiting rounders. It was just a spam email, but she replied anyway. FB contacted her, and that was that. She's been traveling around Japan searching for IBNs ever since. Except that she's never found one. Until now. So what happens next? Okabe asks if she's just going to sit on her ass and accept her fate, or if she's going to do something about it.
Even if FB did use me, that was the only place I belonged. FB gave me purpose. To protect that purpose, to protect FB, I would do anything.
You're beyond saving. Drown in your dependence for all I care. Your death has already been decided.
So he heads to the coin locker she told him about and sees that one of the lockers, one that is big enough to contain it, is indeed engaged. Most likely he can't get his hands on it in this world line, but he wants to try anyway. He grabs a crowbar from the lab and tries to pry the locker open, but the police catch him and scold him. Okay, so that's not going to work. He goes back to Moeka's apartment and confirms that the bottom right locker is where she left it, which means that FB still hasn't picked it up yet. If they stake at that locker, they'll find FB. He asks if she wants to meet FB, but Moeka says no.
I can't meet her. I'm too afraid. The real me could never live up to her expectations.
'Cause I'm sure those were super high in the first place. But alright, Okabe is on his own for this one. He heads back to the coin locker and hides behind a big pillar across the way. 7 hours later, and Okabe is about ready to die. Of course, since he has no partner, he's stuck here until something happens. Just then, something does. Someone taps him on the shoulder. His legs are so numb he falls on his face, but it turns out to be Moeka. She decided to help him in the end after all. When Okabe asks why the change of heart, she confesses,
If I lose contact with FB, I'll lose my connection.
You can't bear to be alone yourself, yet you end an innocent girl's life because some person you've never met told you to. A cultist, that's what you are.
Okabe can't decide whether he hates Moeka's weakness or FB's callousness more. But it turns out that Moeka brought snacks, so all is forgiven! Yay! Moeka joins the stakeout, which is much easier with 2 people because they can take turns napping and Okabe can briefly head back to the lab for a shower. But finally, after about 24 hours of waiting, someone approaches the coin locker. It's a random middle-aged man. That can't be FB. Moeka insists that FB is a woman. Still, the man grabs the IBN from the locker, and so they follow him as he drags the computer on a pushcart to the station. They take his same train and follow him for a while, but when he gets off the train at Shinjuku, he's no longer got the IBN. Unfortunately for him, he's up against Okabe, who can try to chase him as many times as he wants. Even though the rounders go through a series of convoluted handoffs, every time he loses them, he just time leaps and finds them again. Finally, the IBN is handed off to a person in a truck. The driver gets out of the car, and it's Tennouji? This is a horrifying revelation. Okabe has been sitting right above a rounder this entire time. He time leads back several hours and explains the situation to Moeka, intending to get ahead of the package. To that end, they rent a car. Okabe doesn't have a license, so it's up to Moeka, but this is her first time driving, so that's great. They follow Tennouji when he drives off, but he really just goes back to his house, and that is where the IBN goes. Okabe briefly wonders if FB might be his wife. We've never met her after all. Alright, time for another stakeout. Okabe has Daru set a camera up on the telephone pole down the street, and they park a couple of blocks away and watch the video feed. Nothing happens the whole of the next day until about 3 a.m. when the 6 men who raided the lab and other world lines show up. However, in this world line, Moeka doesn't know them at all. They again follow the IBN, and the men take it to the airport and board it on a plane headed for France. Headed for SERN. However, Okabe is still sus on Tennouji's wife being FB. After all, Moeka's men attacked just after the time machine was completed. The timing was really perfect, and someone right under them being FB could explain why. They go to confront Tennouji at his house, but outside they run into Kurisu. She tells Okabe that Mayuri's been worried about him.
Now that she mentions it, I feel like I haven't talked to Mayuri in forever.
Okabe explains the situation to Kurisu, how he and Moeka are working together for the time being, and Kurisu insists on coming with them. Okabe hesitates, but Kurisu is not destined to die today, so she should be fine. Moeka, on the other hand, she's supposed to die this afternoon, and she knows it.
But in spite of that, Moeka doesn't seem upset, at least on the surface. The only difference is that she's not checking her phone as often. But Moeka's not a strong woman. Beneath that expressionless mask, she's struggling against the fear of death.
Okabe decides to simply confront Tennouji and leaves Kurisu outside to stand guard. They engage in small talk for a minute while Okabe tries to get a handle on how much he actually knows before he decides to just get to the point. He tells Tennouji that he knows about the IBN and the fact that Tennouji had it. Finally, he asks if he's actually around her. And in this moment, Tennouji turns to Moeka.
Did you betray us, M4?
M4 is a codename given to Moeka by FB. It's something only she should know. Or, I guess, he, after all.
Ever heard of Ferdinand Braun? Come on. He was the Nobel Prize-winning physicist who invented the Braun tube.
Ferdinand Braun, FB. He points a gun at Moeka's head. Of course, they were woefully underprepared for this because they thought FB must be his wife. He tells them that his wife died having Nai, which of course is why we've never seen her. Okabe can't die here, but Moeka is almost guaranteed to. But Okabe has a goal. He needs to get to Tennouji's cell phone. First, he tries to tell him not to shoot because his daughter will hear and see him be a murderer, but Tennouji says she's smart and will understand. There's one more card Okabe can play.
Hashida Suzu didn't give you a home so you could turn it into a safe house for SERN.
This gets Tennouji's attention. But he counters. How the hell would Okabe know how Suzu felt? And so, Okabe tells him. Okabe tells him that Hashida Suzu was also Amane Suzuha, his part-timer.
You never noticed? FB? The woman who saved your life came from the year 2036. She was one of us, a lab member, the daughter of Hashida Itaru. Suzuru hated SERN. And here you are, a man who owes her everything, doing their dirty work. Is this how you honor Suzuha's memory?
Stop making shit up!
Are you really FB?
Moeka suddenly cuts in, and Tennouji softens a bit as he addresses her. Well, only a bit. He's still kind of a dickhole.
You send too much goddamn mail. Who has time for that shit? You better be grateful I bothered to reply.
He tells her that he manipulated her on purpose, and now that she's delivered the IBN, she's useless to him. But that's how all the Rounders are. Outcasts with nowhere to go, easily discarded as soon as their mission is complete. And now that he's delivered the IBN, his is as well. He holds the gun now to his own temple.
Disobey orders, and they go after your family. I can't let them touch my little girl, can I? Sorry for everything, Suzu-san. Really? How did I turn out this way?
And he pulls the trigger. His body drops to the floor as blood stains the tatami mats.
No.
This is obviously a very fucked up situation. And on top of that, now Nai is an orphan. Okabe goes and opens the door to her bedroom a bit to see how much she heard, but finds that her window's open. She's gone. Okabe can't worry about that now, though, as he can finally get his hands on Tennouji's phone.
I was ready to kill him for it if I had to. Never thought he would kill himself. And now I'm looting his dead body like a hyena scavenging for scraps of meat. I feel like I'm going to throw up again just from sheer disgust with myself.
He and Kurisu take Moeka back to her apartment, and he explains what happened on the way. But if Rounders are supposed to be eliminated when they finish their missions, why did Tennouji spare Moeka?
It's possible that FB did what he did so you could live. Maybe he didn't abandon you. Maybe by pushing you away, he was trying to keep you safe?
Could just be wishful thinking, but with Tennouji, you never really know. Regardless, we've got to send that email. If Okabe sends the same message telling Moeka to stop looking for the IBN, but it comes directly from FB, she'll definitely listen to it. Kurisu calls Daru, and he's 5 minutes away from the lab, so they'll have the machine all warmed up in just a few. In the meantime, Kurisu mentions something weird that happened. After she heard the gunshot, she says she saw Nae run out the back door. But before they can question this, there's a sudden knock. Okabe realizes what's happening. Moeka's death has already been approved in this world line, and she still hasn't died yet. He tries to stop her from opening the door, but it's too late.
Hi!
Moeka staggers and drops to her knees. Moeka is covered in blood, but Nae is just smiling. That's not the smile of a child. It's filled with hatred. She speaks directly to Okabe.
Daddy died because of you. I'll kill you with my own 2 hands. Okabe Rintaro, I'll come for you in 15 years. I hope you spend them quivering in terror.
And then she just fucking leaves. What the fuck? Okabe and Kurisu are freaking out, but they've still got Moeka to contend with. She is bleeding out on the floor.
I killed someone precious to you. This is my punishment. I'm sorry.
I forgive you.
This is a huge turnaround from the beginning of this chapter when he hated her guts, but since then we've all realized just how much of a pawn Moeka was, how sad and desperate of a person she was, and how she was manipulated by someone even we as the audience thought we could trust. As she apologizes for a sin that she didn't even commit on this world line, a tear slides down Moeka's cheek, and she dies in Okabe's arms. Okabe, I think you should send the email. Hopefully, if they change Divergence, Moeka's fate will change as well. Most likely things will be very different when they pass the 1% line.
Moeka, if you're going to apologize for a sin you didn't commit, then I must apologize as well. I'm responsible for twisting your fate, and for twisting the fate of Tennouji Nae. Is it okay to leave her like this?
Moeka's chapter doesn't have a big alternate ending like the others do, but if you hesitate on sending this email, there is an extra scene that might interest you. So let's take one last digression and wait to send that email. Okabe is worried about Nae. He time leaps back in the past a few hours to when he, Moeka, and Kurisu are outside Tennouji's house. This time he sends Moeka in to talk to Tennouji alone. They're both dead on this world line anyway, so there's nothing he can do. And instead, he and Kurisu wait for Nae. He sees her come through the window, and he and Kurisu give chase. This Nae is not acting like herself, and Okabe wants to know why. Even now, she doesn't even scream at their pursuit, just keeps on running silently. But finally, her tiny little legs can't outrun them, and they corner her. Okabe confronts her with the fact that she's planning to kill Moeka, and she doesn't deny it. Revenge for her father. Both of them stood there and did nothing while he killed himself. Of course, Nae can only go for Moeka now. Okabe isn't meant to die for another 15 years, and she should know this well.
15 years from now, I killed you. You still don't get it? Just now, you asked who I am. I am Tennouji Nae. No doubt about that. But I remember the next 15 years.
Unbelievable. Nae is from the future. 15 years in the future. She time leaped. She laughs again and pulls out a knife, stabbing Okabe in the arm that he's been gripping her shoulder with. He falls to his knees.
Want to hear how I killed you? In the future, you were one of the founders of the resistance against SERN, but I captured you and imprisoned you and tortured you every which way I could think of. After I ran out of things to do, I finally slit your throat. And then I stabbed you over and over and over again so many times I don't even remember. That's how your life is going to end. That's your punishment for murdering Daddy.
As she digs her nails into the wound she's already made in his arm, she explains that SERN kept the lab's time leap machine locked up until Naya unearthed it. She's been filled with such hatred for him and Moeka that she literally spent aeons time leaping 2 days at a time back 15 entire years. Now that she's killed Moeka, she's just going to wait 15 years to kill Okabe again. And over and over and over again, potentially. Kurisu finally catches up to him. Nai's gone, but she's brought the phone. There's nothing more Okabe can do but get even more traumatized by all the shit his inventions have wrought. Oh, and maybe send the email. He does that. Holy shit, this was a weird little digression, but honestly, I love it to pieces. One of my favorite things that Steins Gate does is consistently hint at everything that's happened in the future. We get little bits and pieces from Suzuha, and now Naya as well, and we can start to piece together a bit of the picture as to the terrible future that we're trying to prevent, but we never actually get to experience it. We have to fill in the rest ourselves, and it gives a lot of fodder for imagination. I really love it when stories do this. There's a whole other story underneath Steins Gate, but the game isn't concerned about telling it, and I honestly kind of love that. Anyway, the D-mail this time obviously works. Okabe finds himself in the street with a convenience store bag, and he immediately heads for Moeka's apartment. She's confused how he knows where she lives, but lets him in, and they wait for the time of Moeka's death. But it doesn't come.
I don't need an IBN anymore, Moeka.
Holy shit, it's been ages since she's messaged us like this. It's 2 steps forward, but 1 step back, I guess. But this means that Moeka is alive. Tennouji probably isn't dead, and Naya is probably not severely fucked in the head and willing to painstakingly travel back in time 15 years just to kill a bitch. It also means that most likely the IBN is already back in his possession. On the way back to the lab, he peeks into the Bronte workshop, and there's Tennouji alive and well. He gets back upstairs, and indeed, there's the damn fucking box of bolts. Finally, he's got the IBN back. Let's not wait another minute. Let's delete that original D-mail from CERN's database and save Mayuri right now. But for that, we need Daru. He's not here. He went to Kamima, remember? Oh, damn it. Okabe time leaps to before Daru left, and now it's time. Daru is here in the lab, the IBN is here. Okabe asked Daru if you researched how to use it.
Can you believe I did it while preparing for Kamima? I'm like a saint or something. They'd knight me for this in England.
Then we shall call you Sir Super Hacker.
But I refuse.
Will you guys chill out? You're giving me a headache. Looks like everything is about to return to normal. It's time for a big speech from our favorite little guy, Hoenn Kyouma.
Our long struggle has at last reached its climax. Ragnarok is at hand. Now we must deliver the decisive blow. With the power of the IBN 5100, we shall crack CERN's most secure database and destroy it from the inside. Beneath its scholarly facade of a research institution, CERN is a hive of scum and villainy, of men who would sacrifice innocent souls in their quest to rule all space and time. When the sun sets upon the battlefield, the foul ruling structure that controls the world will crumple, and from the flames a new age will rise, the age of glorious, unfettered chaos that we desire.
Ugh, shut up! Okabe explains the situation to them one more time, and the two agree to help him hack into CERN. And so they do. Daru finds Okabe's very first email, the one he sent at Radicon. The one that said that Makise Kurisu was...
I was right. I had missed something vital, something dire. The world line I am at last poised to reach at the end of this long struggle. On that world line, Mayuri lives. On that world line, CERN fails. And on that world line, on the 8th floor of Radicon, Makise Kurisu dies.
So, you know how I said there wasn't really a big twist to this plot to complicate things? I'm sure a lot of you were probably screaming at your screens that, yes, there is! It's right here! This is it! Except, no, it's not, because if you think about this email for literally 1 second any time in the second half of the game, you'll realize that this is exactly where the story was heading all along. Not that that's a bad thing. A sinking feeling of inevitable dread is just as good for a story, and oh lord, does this have it! So, how do we think Okabe is coping with this revelation?
I thought that I had found the solution, that everything would be all right. But the equation was meaningless. I'd solved nothing. Instead, I am left with a terrible choice.
Yeah, so quite obviously, if he goes back to the original world line, then Kurisu would have been murdered 2 weeks ago. And if he stays here, Mayuri will die in a matter of hours.
Suzuha, Ferris, Lukako, Moeka. Is this what I sacrificed your memories for?
He tries his best to puzzle his way out of this, but there seems to be no solution. He's got one last hope, though. Maybe now that he's got the IBN, Mayuri doesn't die on this world line. So he goes with Mayuri on the last day of Kamima, and it's dark by the time they get back to Akiba. Mayuri decides to go to the lab to hang out with Okabe for a bit, and on the way she asks him why he decided to come with her today. Obviously, he can't tell her. Mayuri seems disappointed by his non-answer, and probably knows he's lying to her.
Thank you for today. It made Mayushi really happy. Oh, but you know what would make me even happier? If you cosplay next time!
He says that if she does it, and she convinces Luka and Kurisu, then maybe he'll consider it. They make it back to the lab, and Okabe is extra cautious to make sure no one is inside, until a big white station wagon roars into life down the street, the same one that Moeka used to run Mayuri over in a previous world line. Right now, it's going to run straight into Okabe.
Okabe!
But of course, it doesn't. Mayuri runs in front of him, and the car hits her instead. He cradles her in his arms.
Oh, Kari. Finally, Mayushi was useful to Okari.
And then she dies. Again. There is no perfect world. Mayuri is dead again, and Okabe has a tough choice to make. After time leaping back about 3 days, Okabe is sitting on the roof of Radikan, thinking. He is, once again, trying to figure out a way to worm out of this, but he's coming up blank. Aha! There you are. What are you doing here? Okabe says he wants to be alone. Kurisu says he's been acting weird, and she wants to know what's up. That's not like you at all. What happened to your ego? What happened to the insane mad scientist Halloween Kyo?
To hell with my ego!
From his eyes, it's his ego that got him here in the first place, sacrificing all those girl memories for Mayuri. But now it's not just memories he has to sacrifice. As usual, Okabe is still a selfish little hoe and decides to tell Kurisu everything, to see if maybe she can help. So he does. And she doesn't look scared or angry, just calm, like always. She then asks him how credible he thinks the attractor field model is. She then goes on to explain that Okabe is not the center of the universe. Just because his perspective changes doesn't mean everyone else's has to. There's an equal likelihood that when Okabe shifts back to the Beta World line, Kurisu will still be here, alive and well. You really don't have to worry about me, Okabe. It would just hurt my pride if you did.
Don't say it like that.
But they can't continue this conversation, because just then, Okabe's phone rings. Kurisu tells him to pick it up. And it's Mayuri. She's also worried about him, and is sorry that she didn't notice he wasn't happy. Mayuri tells him that she's been thinking about the old days in the lab when it was just the two of them, and now she's worried that she's just getting in his way and being a burden. But before he can really answer that of course she's not a burden, she hangs up the phone.
How are you a burden? Don't say things like that, damn it! I've never felt like Mayuri was a burden, not even once.
Then you should tell her that. Okabe. The old you wouldn't have worried about anything. Anyway, you should go see Mayuri. I'm sure she has a lot to say. God, Kurisu is literally always thinking of others before herself, huh? Almost to a fault. Anyway, Okabe postpones his decision and goes to see Mayuri. But first he has to track her down. She isn't responding to his calls or texts. She's not at home, or at work either. There's one more place Okabe thinks he might find her. So he stops by the cemetery where Mayuri's grandmother is buried.
Hey, Granny. I've been having scary dreams lately. In my dreams, bad things keep happening to me. Like someone shoots me, or a car hits me, or I get run over by a train. It's so real. It hurts so much, and I feel so sad, and I try to call for help, but nothing comes out. And, you know, they always end the same way. Mayushi's crying, and Okarin comes to save me. He holds Mayushi and makes a very sad face like he's going to cry. But he never does, you know? I can tell he's forcing himself not to cry.
Of course, Mayuri is remembering bits of the other world lines, but only as dreams. Mayuri then goes on to tell her grandmother all about all the new lab mems, and especially about Kurisu, whom she seems to admire greatly. But sometimes she still remembers when the lab was just the two of them, and they would talk about Okabe's delusions and sit and just be.
I felt so happy there. So happy I could cry.
And then she realizes that she hasn't talked to Okabe much lately. That's because Okabe's been so busy trying to save her, but of course, she doesn't know that.
Mayushi's just one big nuisance, isn't she? Granny? I can't stay like this forever, can I?
Of course you can.
Okabe bursts onto the scene, unable to contain himself a second longer. Mayuri confesses she's worried about him.
Hoin Kyoma is not so weak as to require your concern. When the time comes, I'll tell you everything. So, stay by my side until then. Like you always have.
Okay.
And they head back to the lab together. The next day, Okabe heads back to Radicon, still paralyzed and unable to make a decision. It looks like it's going to rain. When he makes it to the roof, he sees Kurisu, lying spread eagle on the ground. Luckily, she's not dead. She confesses that she herself was thinking, so Okabe says he'll go, but then it starts raining. Since the Japanese are allergic to rain or something, they both start freaking out and run into the building. Kurisu sits on the stairs. A storm like this shouldn't last long. Guess we'll just wait it out. Hey, get your own stair! Okabe notices that in his haste, he's torn his coat sleeve on something. Give it here. I happen to have a sewing kit with me. I'll stitch it up for you.
A sewing kit? You? You're an experiment-loving girl. You're not supposed to be domestic.
She mostly ignores him and sews up his sleeve. Since she can't see the colors in the dark hallway, he's got a 30% shot at getting pink. Okabe's suspicious and wonders if she time-leaped just so she'd have a sewing kit for this moment, and she denies it a little too vehemently, methinks. They banter for a while, as they do, but eventually the weight of this situation is too much, even for them. And they fall to silence. Have you made your decision yet? You still haven't made up your mind? You like Mayuri, don't you? Kurisu confesses that she's also been seeing phantom images of all the other world lines in which Okabe is so desperately trying to save Mayuri, and she's come to the conclusion that that's how it needs to be.
Aren't you afraid?
You know, it kind of feels like we're trapped in an ancient ruin. Like the world ended and we're the only two people left. I've been thinking. Say you go to the Beta World line and everyone else goes with you. What if I can't go with you? What if I'm the only one left behind? Would the entire world become like this place? It's just a theory, but I can't help but wonder.
I'll save you. Not just Mayuri, but...
Don't make promises you can't keep. You asked me if I was afraid. Of course I'm afraid. Maybe I'll disappear. Maybe I'll be left all alone. Maybe I feel so hopeless just thinking about all the possibilities. But even so, do you think I would tell you to let Mayuri die? Jesus, it's cold. In the end, Kurisu tells him in no uncertain terms that she wants him to choose Mayuri. Okabe tries to argue, but she won't hear it. Eventually, he can't take this anymore and hugs her tightly. She hugs him back. Finally, he whispers in her ear.
I'm sorry.
Kurisu stands up, brushes herself off, and heads back to the lab. She insists that Okabe can't come with her. And so he waits for a few minutes in the dark. All alone. Later on, he makes it back to the lab, and Kurisu is already gone, having sent one last email stating she's going back to America. Okabe takes a shower and sits alone, and then Mayuri shows up. She confesses that she didn't go to Kamima today, that she was too worried about Okabe. Okabe asks how she would feel if he was keeping a secret from her, and she says that he doesn't have to tell her if he doesn't want to. He confesses that his secret has something to do with her, and she realizes that that's why Okabe has been so sad. So now, of course, she does want to know. She repeats the sentiment of not being a burden and feels like she can't help him if she doesn't know what's wrong. So, finally, Okabe tells her everything. And he does it as Hoin Kyoma. When he's finished, Mayuri looks like she's about to cry. Okabe asks her what's wrong.
The whole time you and Chris-chan were hurting, Mayushi was making costumes. Like nothing was wrong. I feel so stupid. I didn't know anything.
Mayuri gets up and runs for the door. She insists she's going to see Kurisu, and who is Okabe to deny that request? They meet her at the UPX overpass. She's got her suitcase. She's about to leave. Mayuri tries to convince Kurisu to not sacrifice herself, but Okabe and Kurisu insist. Well, I'm off. Thank God I'll never have to see your silly face again.
Chris-chan, don't go! Please, don't go!
Don't follow me. I don't want pity. It will only make it worse. This is my decision. Nothing you can say will change my mind. Goodbye. Promise me, Mayuri. Promise me you'll find happiness. And with that, Kurisu walks away.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okabe tries to cast all the blame on himself, but Mayuri wants him to tell her how he really feels. He's, of course, been fighting to save Mayuri this whole time. The two of them agree to be happy together. For Kurisu. And so, finally, it is time to delete that first email from SERN's database. Okabe convinces Daru to stay behind from Kamima. He finds the mail, and it's time to go.
Victory is at hand. With unimaginable brilliance and unwavering conviction, I have defeated our vast and powerful enemy, and now stand triumphant on the field of Ragnarok. I give thanks to the comrades whose sacrifice made this victory possible. The coming world is the world I wished for. This is the choice of Steins Gate. El Sai Kongru.
He strikes the key, and almost nothing changes. But really, everything has. The sewn-up part of his lab coat is gone. The time leap machine is back to being the phone wave, name subject to change. Everything is the same. But Kurisu is gone.
Say, Mayuri, who was Lab Mem 004 again?
004? But Okarin, there's only 3 lab mems, remember?
Okabe cries. Mayuri asks what's wrong, and Okabe makes her promise to never leave him.
Mayushi will always be by your side. Just like this. Forever.
Still, Okabe waits with bated breath to see if Mayuri dies. But then that night passes. And the next one. And the next. And Mayuri is still alive. They truly did save her.
Okarin! Okarin came to pick me up! You waited for Mayushi! I'm so happy!
A few days later, he comes to pick her up at the station, and yes, that's right, Okabe and Mayuri have become an official couple. Of course she means the world to him. I mean, he went through absolute hell just to save her, and ultimately, this is the world he wished for. But still, something feels wrong. Something is missing. It seems like Mayuri feels it too.
I don't know who it was, but Mayushi feels like she had a very important friend. And whenever I think about that important friend, my heart hurts. Like, you know? And sometimes I hear a voice. The voice tells me to find happiness.
Mayuri wishes she could meet that person and thank them. She reaches up to the sky, trying to touch the stars, or maybe heaven, and the two of them walk on together, hand in hand. And that's the end of Steins Gate. Kind of a sad ending, I think, but ultimately meaningful. Not everyone can always be saved, you know? Like, sometimes in life, we have to make these really difficult choices where no matter what happens, someone is going to get hurt. And realizing that this can happen is part of growing up. There's a reason Okabe is a college student and not in high school. He's in the proper transition phase of growing up, and
Okay, I'll drop the fucking act. Obviously, this is not the true ending of Steins Gate, because all you Mayuri and Okabe shippers can go fuck yourselves. The true route is all about Kurisu, baby. I mean, she's such a fan favorite that even wife guy in training Dragon actively drools over her constantly. But, I mean, there was no place to make a different choice that chapter. No D-mail that could or could not be sent. So how do we get there? The answer seems impossible, but it lies in an angle we hadn't considered before. You know how I said that the texting mechanic was kind of useless and just for a bit of flair? Yeah, it's fundamental in achieving the true ending. Because if you go all the way back to the beginning of the game and enter a series of responses to Kurisu's messages that are 100% correct with no way of knowing what they are, something will happen. Honestly, I have no idea how anyone found this shit. This, by the way, is how you get those bonus scenes with Kurisu that replace the default ones with Mayuri. And finally, time traveling back through the entirety of the game once again, repeating the same scenes with the same characters over again but making slightly different choices in the background, almost like the plot of the fucking game. That's some ludonarrative harmony, baby! We find ourselves back in Radicon, on the day it rains. Kurisu has just fixed up Okabe's coat, and is begging him to let her go. He leans in, and whispers in her ear.
I won't give up. Ever.
This pisses Kurisu the fuck off. Logically, saving Mayuri is the only correct option. It's set in stone. One of them has to die, and Okabe has done too much to abandon his mission now. But he refuses. He's going to save everyone. Kurisu insists she's not helping him, and that she's going to go back to America. I can't believe this. How stupid can you be? You're so stupid! She disappears down the stairwell, leaving Okabe alone. Ultimately, she's absolutely right. There doesn't seem to be any way around it. Still, he has to fucking try, doesn't he? So he heads back to the lab, intending to time leap again to buy him some time. Running away?
I've hurt people. Lots of people, just to save Mayuri. And yet, I don't even feel guilt anymore. I feel like I'm losing my humanity.
Running only makes it hurt more. I should know. Look at yourself, Okabe. You look like you've aged a decade. Your heart can't take it anymore. Like I said, you can't stay here. Go to the Beta World Line. Go to the world where Mayuri doesn't die. Not just for your sake, but for mine as well. She's right. Ultimately, she's right. There's no perfect world where the both of them live. He has to choose. But in the past 20 days, Kurisu has been his rock. He remembers everything about her, all the times they argued and bickered and bantered, and he realizes something.
I am in love with Kurisu, and that's why I want so desperately to save her.
He apologizes that he can't save her, and curses his helplessness. Of course, on the Beta World Line, Mayuri and Daru won't remember her. But Kurisu asks Okabe to in their stead. Of course he will. She's so incredibly important to him. But Kurisu flips out at this statement, it meaning what she obviously thinks it means. That's proof. I need proof. I can't come up with a formula otherwise. When the anterior pituitary gland hypersecretes ACTH and gamma waves induce stochastic resonance, we can assume an infinite Hausdorff dimension for the Hilbert curve. That is, we can measure the asymptotic line with positron emission tomography.
Kurisu, I love you.
She tells him to close his eyes. And when he does, she kisses him. When they break apart, she claims she did it because memories coupled with intense emotions are harder to forget, so she gave him his first kiss.
Sorry to disappoint you. That wasn't my first kiss. So it only left a weak impression. Probably not enough to become a long-term memory. So, once more. I don't ever want to forget, so let's make doubly sure.
Holy shit, how are you this smooth, Okabe? Holy moly, wowzers! Ah, young love. So intense, so passionate. Makes me miss those days. And now I feel like I'm old as dirt, so let's continue. So they kiss again, desperate to hold on to each other. But in the end, Einstein is a fucking bitch, and the time goes way too fast. They break apart. Kurisu goes back to her hotel to pack, and once again, She says goodbye on her way back to America. This time, Okabe sees her off alone.
Sorry I couldn't go with you to Aomori.
But these 2 weeks were fun, in their own way. Okabe, hang in there.
I will remember you, Makise Kurisu. I will remember your warmth. I will never forget.
She walks away and doesn't look back. And so, the time has finally come to delete that first email. Okabe makes the exact same speech. He presses the key. But right as the world begins to warp, the door to the lab opens. It's Kurisu. What's she doing back here? He doesn't hear what she says because the world is actively being rewritten, but he imagines he hears, "We didn't say goodbye! Goodbye! Okabe, I love..." And she's gone. Almost nothing has changed. But really, everything has. The sewn-up part of his lab coat is gone. The time leap machine is back to being the phone wave, name subject to change. Everything is the same. But Kurisu is gone.
Hey, who was LabMem 004 again?
Okabe is the only person in the world who remembers Kurisu as LabMem 004.
The last battle of Ragnarok is won! I, the insane mad scientist, Hoid Kyoma, with an IQ rivaling that of Einstein himself, have thwarted the organization, outsmarted CERN, and conquered the whole of space and time. Now at the moment of my triumph, I stand before you as a god. This is truly the choice of Steins.
Okarin, it's okay now.
Mayuri is hugging him tightly. He asks her what she's doing.
But, Okarin, you look like you're about to cry. You don't have to worry about Mayushi anymore. So you can cry if you want to, okay?
And so he does. He cries because Mayuri is safe. He cries because Kurisu is dead. He cries because the world is cruel. Even if he's won, it feels like he's admitting defeat. And that's the true ending of Steins Gate. Somehow that one was even worse than the last. Okay, Jesus, there's another chapter. But the game has to fuck with you, so I do too. Anyway, it's time for the grand finale of Steins Gate. It's time for Chapter 11. A week later, Okabe gets a message that says to meet on the roof of Radicon. So Okabe, Daru, and Mayuri head over there only to be greeted with the time machine. But it looks a lot nicer than Suzuha's, and yet, Okabe feels like he's seen it before.
Of course! It was at Dr. Nakabachi's presentation.
Just then, the hatch of the machine opens.
Okabe Rintaro? Are you Okabe Rintaro?
For some reason, she's wearing a military uniform and also doesn't recognize him. It turns out that in the Beta World line, even if CERN doesn't create a dystopia, the world is still heading for World War III. This is a different version of Suzuha. She's the John Titor that posted on the forums in the year 2000. In other words, she's the John Titor from our world. And unlike the other version of Suzuha, this time machine actually works properly. It can go back and forwards in time. Okabe asks her what she means about World War III, and she explains that by 2036, humanity has been reduced to less than 1 billion people, and the whole thing got started because of a fight for time travel technology.
Why is this happening? You lied to me! You said a peaceful future was waiting for us on the Beta World line.
Then you understand. 5.7 billion people are going to die, and the survivors will be left with no future, no hope. I came here to prevent that, and to do that, I need your help, Uncle Okari.
I refuse!
That was quick. I mean, yeah, it makes sense after everything he's gone through, but hear her out at least. Okabe tells her about Kurisu and how he will even give up the lives of billions of people if it means her sacrifice wasn't in vain.
Let's say, hypothetically, that the only way to change the future of this world line is to go back to July 28, 2010, the day Makise Kurisu dies, and save her. What would you do?
Oh shit. I mean, the Kurisu end had to involve saving her, but we're really in it now, boys, because obviously, we're going to be using Suzuha's time machine. And since he already saw it on the roof that day, this is already written in the timeline. It's supposed to happen.
The world line I wish for isn't... What did you call it? the Alpha World Line. It's not that. What I wish to reach is the space between attractor fields. There lies a world line not interfered with by any attractor field. A world line known as Steins Gate.
That's right, bitches. The title did mean something all along, even if it still means nothing because it's still a dumb phrase that Okabe made up later, given significance. But can Steins Gate even exist? According to Suzuha, Okabe and Daru calculated its divergence in the future, and if they save Kurisu, they should get there. Unfortunately, Okabe can't really get any other answers because Suzuha's just following her dad's plan, and future Daru is just following Okabe's plan, who died back in 2025. Wait. That's this year. Oh my god, rest in fucking pieces, you crazy diamond. I think I made this joke already, didn't I? Yeah, I totally did. Fuck me. Jesus Christ.
Like I said, Steins Gate is unobserved. Nobody knows what future awaits us there. There's a chance that a dystopia rises from the ashes of World War III. There's a chance that Makise Kurisu dies just 2 days after you save her. But there's also a chance that when 2036 comes, there will be no dystopia. No world ravaged by war. There's a chance that a wonderful future awaits.
She offers Okabe her hand. Still, he hesitates. But both Mayuri and Daru think he should go for it. And so finally, he agrees. He waves goodbye to Mayuri and Daru and follows her into her time machine. The first thing Suzuha does is throw Okabe's cell phone at the window. Apparently it'll cause interference, and then explains that they've got to show up in the middle of the presentation so they don't try to close down BodyCon before it happens. That would just lead back to the Alpha World Line anyway. Okay, so the plan is to head back and save Kurisu. Since that day is a turning point, attractor field convergence shouldn't apply, meaning that Kurisu only has about a 50% chance of dying. Finally, she warns him about one more thing.
Watch out for Dr. Nakabachi. Remember what I said about World War III? It all started because of something called the Nakabachi paper. A paper Dr. Nakabachi wrote detailing his theory of time travel.
Clearly, he's somehow important to all of this shit. One more question. What happens if they fail and don't save Kurisu? Well, the time machine's almost out of fuel, but they should have enough for one more attempt. Obviously, Suzuha doesn't need to worry about getting back because she wouldn't have needed to go back in the first place if the world line changes. Okabe describes using the time machine as if he's falling horizontally, which is weird to think about, but after about 2 minutes, they've made it. Suzuha gives a final warning. Okabe is already here, obviously, and it can cause problems if they meet, so he needs to avoid himself as much as possible. And with that, she slaps him on the bum and sets him free to fix the past. He scoots by the crowd that's quickly gathering around the time machine and barely manages to avoid himself on the 8th floor landing. Excuse me. You came down from the roof just now, didn't you? What's going on? It's not Dr. Nakabachi's doing, is it? Okabe can't even speak. It's her. She's here. The girl he failed to save. And she has no idea who he is. Despite himself, he reaches towards her, but she steps back, clutching a manila envelope to her chest. He almost asks if he can really save her, but the words get caught in his throat. Then he turns and runs. Passing by the presentation room, he can see himself shouting at Dr. Nakabachi, so he only has a little time left. He runs up to the storage area where he found Kurisu, hides behind some junk, and waits. Finally, someone approaches. He thinks it might be her murderer, but it turns out it's Kurisu herself. She glances into that manila envelope she's holding and smiles. He waits for a few minutes, and then someone comes to meet her. I wanted to talk. Are you listening, Papa? Oh no. Yeah, we haven't talked about it in a while, but remember in the last video there was this whole bit about Kurisu's estranged father? Yeah, turns out it's Dr. Nakabachi. She presents to him the folder. Within, apparently, is a theory of time travel. She wrote it for him. She offers to polish it, then submit it to the scientific community together.
Did I ask you to write this?
Well, no, but you invited me to come, remember? It was the first time we'd talked in 7 years. That's what got me thinking. And as I worked on the thesis, I started to realize it might actually be possible to build a time machine. If the thesis is published, you could have your revenge on the scientific community for shunning you.
I wasn't shunned! Those incompetent bastards were jealous of my superiority. I was the one who gave up on them.
Yeah, you know what you sound like? A bitter, jaded writer who couldn't get published professionally, so just claims the industry is reductive and not willing to take risks anymore. What? I wasn't talking about anyone in particular, shut up! Anyway, Nakabachi reads through her paper, and once again, she offers to submit it jointly. He says that he'll take care of it, and then in no uncertain terms, tells her to fuck off.
You want my opinion? We'll submit it jointly? You don't mean any of that. I'll tell you why I called you here today. I wanted to show you my research beyond even what you can imagine. I wanted to prove once and for all that you are nothing compared to me.
Holy shit! Buddy, your inferiority complex is so bad that you're even taking it out on your own daughter. What a dickhole.
You want my opinion on this thesis? Fine, I'll give it to you. I'm going to publish it myself. End of discussion.
You're stealing it, Papa? You're stealing my work? I didn't think even you would do something like... And then he slaps her across the face. Then he grabs her by the throat.
You can't possibly understand how I feel? Why did you have to be so talented? I detest you. I hate your very existence.
Holy fucking shit, there is something seriously wrong with this man. Obviously, Okabe can't stay out of this any longer. He emerges from the shadows and rams Nakabachi with his shoulder, which causes him to let go of Kurisu. As soon as Nakabachi sees him, he puts two and two together and realizes that obviously Kurisu and Okabe have been working together the whole time to ruin his presentation. And then he pulls out a fucking knife. Of course, he doesn't have any actual skill with it, so Okabe manages to disarm him pretty quickly and pick up the knife himself. But of course he just rearms himself with a nearby screwdriver. Okabe tells Kurisu to run away, but she just doesn't. Even when Nakabachi cuts her arm with the screwdriver. This causes Okabe to enter a blood rage, and he runs to the doctor, brandishing the knife.
Nakabachi!
No! At the end of the day, he's still her father. Because that isn't Nakabachi's flesh that Okabe's knife is currently sunk into. It's Kurisu's. She stepped in front of her father and took the knife for him.
A fitting end for you fools.
And of course, it's not like he's grateful or anything. He runs away, carrying Kurisu's notes with him, leaving Kurisu to die in Okabe's arms. It hurts. Am I going to die? I don't want to die. I don't want it to end like this.
Her body suddenly grows heavy. I can no longer hear the sound of her breathing. And yet, the blood from her wound is still warm. I killed her. I killed her. The one who killed Kurisu was me.
He screams, and in that moment, realizes that the scream he heard that day, the one that led him to Kurisu's body, was his scream all along. But before his past self can find him and cause a paradox, Suzuha swoops in and carries him back to the time machine. Back in the present, Okabe and Suzuha stumble back out onto the roof, where Mayuri and Daru are waiting.
Whoa! You're covered in blood! What happened?
Are you okay? Hang in there. Don't die!
He's okay. It's not his blood.
There's no way to save her. There never was. Everything has already been decided. It's the same as it was with Mayuri. The same. No matter how hard I struggle, the result will always be the same.
He's about ready to throw in the towel and just give up. After all, he's experienced this so many times now. And he's so tired.
Okarin, you're not a quitter. Remember? Every day Mayushi prayed for help in front of Granny's grave. And every day you came to see me. Because you were always there for Mayushi, I was finally able to say goodbye to Granny. Mayushi doesn't really understand what's going on, but don't give up now, okay? Mayushi doesn't want to see you sad.
Still, even Mayuri's words aren't helping. He can still feel that knife entering Kurisu's flesh. However, just then, he gets an email. From a strange source. All it says is, "Turn on the TV." The date of the message, August 21st, 2025. Okabe's phone gets TV reception, so he turns on the news. As it turns out, a fire broke out on a plane heading for Russia. Luckily, no one was hurt, but on that plane was Dr. Nakabachi, intending to seek asylum in Russia. He's delighted to announce that his research is, in fact, safe. And by his research, I really mean Kurisu's research.
Originally, this envelope was in my checked baggage. It stayed there, then it would have burned up in the cargo hold, and humanity's dream along with it. However, fate intervened on my behalf, as if God himself had decreed that my greatness should be known across the world.
He holds something up to the camera, something that looks oddly familiar. It's Mayuri's metal upa, the one she dropped during the presentation. You can even see her name on it. It must have set off the metal detector, and the doctor decided to keep his notes with him instead. This one little toy is the cause of World War III. Okabe asks Suzuha if she knew about this, and about this D-mail that told him to check the news.
Sorry for not telling you everything, but we needed you to fail once. You had to experience Makise Kurisu's death firsthand.
He demands to be told the whole truth, but she tells him that he should already have it. A video mail from the year 2025. He did receive one. A strange mail all the way back on that day, the day Kurisu died. Now that he's failed once, he should be able to see the video message on it.
Greetings. It's been 15 years, I suppose you could say. The year is 2025. You dismantled the phone wave. So did I. But not 1 year later, I, which is to say you, turned back to time travel as my last hope.
This is quite obviously Okabe. Future Okabe. Cool, sexy, DILF energy Okabe. Honestly, I think they're cowards for not giving him a sprite.
The fact that you're watching this means that you failed to save Kurisu. It hurts, doesn't it? I know how you feel. After all, I went through it myself 15 years ago. That's right. I failed too. I've lived with that failure for 15 years.
He explains that it was necessary for Okabe to fail once so that this future version of him can exist in the first place. Because now DILF Okabe has a plan, one that he knows his past self can pull off.
On July 28th, you first went to Nakabachi's presentation, blissfully unaware of what was about to happen. You must not change what the first you saw. However, there is room for deception.
It is a fact that Okabe saw Kurisu lying in a pool of blood. It is not a fact that he saw her dead. He never checked the body, after all. However, even if he's just going to erase everything that happened in this entire story, it was important that it happened. All of these events led to this moment. Okabe can't reject the past. He can't change it. But what he can do is change the outcome.
Deceive yourself. Deceive the world. That is the choice which will lead you to Steins Gate. I pray for your success, you insane mad scientist. L. Psi. Congru.
I'm 33 years old and I still have no shame. Deceive myself? Deceive the world? That's such chuny bullshit. Very well. If this is the choice of Steins Gate, then so be it. I am the insane mad scientist Hoin Kyoma. Deceiving the world is child's play to me. He's
finally back. I missed him so much. Oh, Kyoma, never leave me ever again. Of course, Daru, Mayuri, and potentially you might be confused about what the hecky DILF Okabe meant about deceiving the world. Well, think about it like this. Again, Okabe saw Kurisu lying in a pool of blood, or at least something that looked like a pool of blood from his very short panic glance. What if it was instead, say, red paint? Okabe needs 30 minutes and some stuff to make it work, but he immediately has a plan. Oh baby, we're so back! Speaking of which, Mayuri is also back after running to the lab. She's got the stuff Okabe wanted, and a snack.
What's that?
A banana!
No, I mean that stick.
It's not a stick, it's a sword. One of our lab's many inventions. Future gadget number 6, the Sialoom Saber.
Sialoom is that thing that makes the glow sticks at idol concerts glow like they do. However, this one is shaped like a lightsaber so that they can reenact Spark Wars fights. Also, the substance inside can form fake blood clots so that their battles can be more realistic. God would fucking nerds. So quite obviously he's going to use the saber to fake Kurisu's blood. He shoves the banana in his face, pockets a stun gun that Daro acquired for him, and with that, he's all ready to go. They've only got one more shot, so he has to make it count.
Okarin, come back, okay?
He hops in the time loop machine, and away they go. Luckily, he won't run into the version of him that killed Kurisu because the time machine will take them to a minutely different timeline. The goal is to force the timeline to converge somewhere else besides on Kurisu's death. Steins Gate, as they call it. Alright, they've successfully landed again, and Okabe immediately springs into action. He has to save Kurisu's life, yes, but he also needs to destroy the Nakabachi paper. So to that end, he heads to the capsule machines on the 7th floor landing. Before he and Mayuri show up, he puts in a coin and wins the metal upa himself. Now Mayuri will only get a normal plastic one that won't set off a metal detector. Ah! Right on cue. Hey, you just came down from the...
I'm going to save you.
He needs to say something to her so that she'll approach past him, but that's all he needs to do. He runs back to the 7th floor dramatically.
Ah, it's an upa. It's not rare, but isn't it just so cute? Mayushi loves upa.
The conference is about to start, so past Okabe runs off, leaving Mayuri to write her name on the upa. Then she heads after him, but the upa falls out of her pocket, only to be picked up a second later by Kurisu, who sticks it in her envelope and hurries up to the conference herself. Okabe steals himself and readies his saber. Now is the real test. He waits in the storage area before Kurisu makes her appearance, smiling down at the upa in her envelope. She waits for a few minutes, and then someone comes to meet her. I wanted to talk. Are you listening, Papa? They have the same conversation they had last time, and Okabe goes to ready his saber for the blood, but uh-oh. There's a problem. The blood in the saber failed to coagulate. They never actually tested this gadget, and now it's failing him at the last minute.
I wasn't shunned! Those incompetent bastards were jealous of my superiority. I was the one who gave up on them.
But there's no time to reassess now. The situation between Kurisu and Nakabachi is rapidly deteriorating. There's no more time, and no way for him to do this again.
I won't court the mercy of a heartless god. I will save Kurisu myself. She won't die again. Not at my hands, not at anyone's.
Kurisu accuses her father of stealing her work. He hits her, then grabs her by the throat. There's one more way that Okabe can create a pool of blood. He steps out of the shadows, and Nakabachi demands to know who he thinks he is.
My name is Hoin Kyoma. Ho for Phoenix. The Een, and finally the terrible truth that must never be revealed. Hoin Kyoma! I am the one who so desires chaos, the destroyer of the world's ruling structure. And I am the one who will end your ambition!
Kurisu tells Okabe to run. He doesn't listen. Nakabachi is furious now. He runs to Okabe with his knife and stabs him. Okabe is in a lot of pain, but he can't die. Not here.
Now who's laughing? That's what you get for mocking me!
Okabe threatens to kill Nakabachi, both him and the girl. He acts absolutely bananas. Still, Kurisu thinks it's a good idea to go up and try to help him.
I'm going to save you.
What are you? And he tases her. She goes down like a sack of bricks. Nakabachi freaks out and runs, screaming like a little bitch, though he still has, of course, remembered his precious envelope. Okabe is not doing well. He is in a fuck ton of pain and nearly loses consciousness at every moment. He's got his blood now, but it's still not enough. He drives his fingers into the wound, forcing it open further. He screams. Everything is still going exactly as Okabe originally saw it, but his scream also draws Suzuha.
That wound. What happened? What were you thinking? If you die, if we fail.
You forget who you're dealing with, Suzuha. That should be enough blood, don't you think?
Suzuha is still worried about him dying, but if convergence holds, Okabe is not destined to die here. He instructs Suzuha to place Kurisu's still unconscious body on top of his blood.
Did it hurt? I'm sorry, but I had to do it. To save you. Even though those 3 weeks will never come back, I want you to live. Goodbye.
Suzuha grabs Okabe and half drags him back to the time machine.
Hey, Uncle. I'm sure Steins Gate is waiting for us on the other side. A world where nothing is known, where anything is possible. A world where you live, where Makise Kurisu lives, where Shiina Mayuri lives. A world where I have no reason to travel to 2010. Once we arrive, I'll probably disappear. I won't be able to thank you for bringing me to Steins Gate, so I'll say it now. Thank you, Uncle. Don't die. Live. And in 7 years, let's meet again, okay?
It's time to go home. Mayuri and Daru are waiting. And with them, the future that has yet to be written.
A month later, Okabe is finally released from the hospital. He, of course, made it, though his wound was so intense it required surgery. But now that he's out, he's got a mission. He's got some pins to pass out, after all, for all the members of the Future Gadget Laboratory. This is obviously a framing device to see how everybody's doing on this new world line, so I'm just going to go through it quick. Luca's doing great. He made his cosplay debut at Kamima and is feeling much more confident. Ferris is still working at the Catgirl Maid Cafe, and they're even planning on opening a second location. Her goal to spread Moe to all of Japan is succeeding. She's also started participating in Rhinet tournaments officially, because she has to, right? Okabe heads back to the lab, only to run into Moeka? Yeah, as it turns out, she started a new job at the Brahm Tube workshop. Hopefully now she'll have an actual support system instead of a fake abusive one. Tennouji and I are also both alive and not insane, so that's good too.
Totoro! Welcome back, Arin!
Mayuri is doing great as always and offers Okabe some juicy chicken number 1 as he enters the lab. She's mad at him that he didn't tell her he was getting out of the hospital today. Daru's just mad that he got Mayuri to change his diaper when he couldn't move. Ah, Daru. Never change. He hands Mayuri and Daru their pins, but Mayuri is curious about the inscription. She recognizes most of the letters as initials, but what are the others? M for Makise, K for Kiryu, and A for Amane, of course. He hasn't told them about those 3, thinking that they wouldn't believe him, especially if he tells Daru about his daughter. Also, he really doesn't want to tell him he's going to get married. He's afraid of his reaction.
Who's my lucky bride to be? I hope she's got a cute face, and delicious flat chest, and blonde hair, and twin tails, and a golden ratio tsundere personality. And when she's in dare mode, she's super cuddly and sexy.
Yeah, I think not telling him is probably for the best. He already gave Moeka hers, and he's keeping Suzuha safe at the lab. As far as Nakabachi goes, well, he still gave a news interview, but the tone was very different.
Outrage. An outrage. A fire? How could that happen? My precious thesis was burned to a crisp. The future of humanity went up in flames. This is no time for an interview.
Well, if it's your thesis, you can just rewrite it, right? Right? Oh, yeah. Of course, there was no murder at Radicon on this timeline. Kurisu is still alive. He has 2 pins left. One is his own, and the other one he keeps in his pocket is hers. Of course, she's probably long since headed back to America by now without even having met him. Except just then, as he's walking down the streets of Akiba.
A familiar figure. I'd recognize it anywhere. She has stopped too, in the middle of the sidewalk. Slowly, she turns to face me.
I finally found you. I've been looking everywhere for you ever since you saved my life. I was so afraid I'd never have a chance to say thank you. Oh my god. He wasn't expecting this. What can he do? Of course he brings his phone to his ear.
It's me. Why is she here? Reading Steiner didn't activate. What? Protect her? That's a tall order, my friend. We meet again, Christina.
How many times do I have to tell you I'm not Christina or your assistant or... She doesn't know quite why she said that. But she did. Somewhere deep down, she knows him. She remembers. This truly is the best world line.
Welcome back, my assistant. Makise Kurisu. No, Christina. This is the choice of Steins Gate.
And that, my friends, is Steins Gate. Was it a mind-blowing narrative? No, not really. I have a lot of problems with it, as I went into excruciating detail about. Not even the final twist of how Okabe saves everybody in the end was really that crazy compared to other time travel stories, even compared to ones we've already covered on this channel. But honestly, at the end of the day, I don't really think that's the point. Ultimately, Steins Gate is a small story about a man who cares too much and all of his goofy goober friends and the woman he falls in love with. There is such heart and soul at the center of this story, and every single one of the characters holds a special place in the hearts of most people who read it. I think that's the reason Steins Gate is considered so good by so many. Though my own opinions on it are a little more complicated, I believe that Steins Gate is a fantastic story, if a flawed one. Above all else, it is creative and unique, and I'd much rather it try new methods of storytelling and not always succeed than if it played it safe and did what everything else does. And if there's one thing Steins Gate is, it's unique. I learned more about physics than I ever wanted to in my entire life. So thank you, Hayashi and Chiyomaru, for sharing your weird passions with us and providing an incredibly heartfelt story on top of that. Somehow they put so much love and passion into such cold topics, and I really think that that's the most important part. Special thanks goes out to my Priests of the Hog and my Elder Hog Prophets, Aedrah, Kronatan, Death Kitty, Eshok7, Jonathan Hummel, Madam Mr. Sir, Magil of the Shadows, and Ventus Agri. Thanks a bunch, guys.